Hey, everybody.
Hello.
We will get started shortly. I'm just waiting for one more board member.
That's funny. Google Meets just told me there are a lot of people here. Click to see the list.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are going to get started on our work session, and I'm opening our Hillsboro School District Board of Directors meeting. And our first item on our agenda is our Budget Committee applications with Michelle Morrison.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Morrison, Chief Financial Officer for the Hillsboro School District, and excited to see many of our Budget Committee applicants live and with us tonight. That's wonderful, and we're going to invite you momentarily. In 90 seconds or less, go ahead and introduce yourself and a quick statement about why you'd like to serve on the Budget Committee. And for our board and staff who have been through this process with the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee, I'm doing my best to mimic that process. And so after we have a chance to hear from our applicants, we'll go ahead and go into a selection exercise in Google Forms. And so we'll proceed with that. But let's go ahead and get started. You can see board members according to your situation page. We have 7 new applicant committee, and we have 1 incumbent, Michael Smith, who held position 2, which expired on June 30th, has reapplied for continued service on the Budget Committee. Christopher Clark did not reapply, and just want to take a moment to thank him for his service on the 3-year term. So with that, I would like to just go ahead and read down the list of folks that I have on our situation page and ask them to introduce themselves. So let's begin with Michael Smith, our incumbent.
Okay. Hi, everybody. You can hear me? Everybody? Okay. All right. Well, my name is Michael Smith. I've lived in Hillsboro for 25 years now. My wife and I moved here from Michigan in 1995, and I've been working at Intel ever since. So all 3 of our kids were educated in the Hillsboro School District. 2 of them graduated from Glencoe, and they're in college right now. My youngest is a junior at Glencoe, so he sits in his room upstairs and calls into class every day. I'm a big believer in public school. My wife and I have done a lot of volunteer work in our schools, a lot of hours at Patterson Elementary, a lot of hours at Glencoe. So anyway, I have been on the Budget Committee before a couple of years. During this time, I saw the budgetary challenges that the district was facing and the district's response to the challenges. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel when education budgets finally stopped shrinking and looked like they might grow a little bit. And then I saw the beginning of the pandemic and some of the choices that needed to be made there. So it's been a real roller coaster ride. But I think having seen all this, I think this context will make it easier for me to understand where the district is financially right now. as we claw our way up out of the pandemic. And I also think I understand where the district would like to be, once things start to approach normal again. So anyway, thank you very much, and I'd welcome the opportunity to serve again on the Budget Committee.
Thank you, Michael, for your prior service and for your reapplication and for being here tonight. Eric Muter.
Yes, thank you, members of the board. I appreciate getting this chance to speak with you. So I'm the father of a kindergartner here in Hillsboro. A little bit about me. I served in the United States Navy for several years as a hospital corpsman. And I've been working at Oregon Health and Science University for over a decade now. I work in information technology, and I'm a subject matter expert right now working on our new small fleet of COVID mobile testing vans, an annual month or so. I'm a graduate of both Portland Community College and Portland State University. I've served on the Budget Committee while elected to the Executive Board for AFSCME Local 328, which is where I learned important that role is. I believe that for anything to be successful, it's important to know where the money comes from, where it goes, and most importantly, why. And I also have a strange affinity for spreadsheets, so that seems to be a good fit. Also, I'm a graduate. I already said that. I served on the Budget Committee also for my local HOA. I've been on the board of directors since we bought our home here in Hillsboro about 6 years ago, and I've been president of the board since 2016, and I attend every one of the Budget Committee meetings as well. I think that education and community service are really the most important parts of our society, and so I think that's really important for people to be involved in that. And specifically here in Hillsboro, I chose to live here largely because of the school district, knowing the quality of the schools and the focus on STEAM learning and technology. So I'm really excited about the prospect of potentially contributing to your group.
Thank you, Eric, very much for being here and for your application. Linda Seeley.
I can function. All right. Hello, I'm Linda Seeley. It's very nice to be able to apply for the position tonight. I am a lifelong Hillsboro resident and came up in the Hillsboro School District myself, and was very excited then when my son got to go to school, and he is a first grader right now at Imlay. He's in their life skills class, so I have been more and more in trying to involve myself in his education and how the school district works for kids like him and how it functions in general. And I've just have a very big interest in being able to continue getting involved for my son and with everything involved. I currently work for the Oregon Zoo Foundation. We do all of the philanthropic and membership sales for the Oregon Zoo and do a lot of fundraising for them. So I do have a bit of a background there in the finer side of getting money to organizations, but not necessarily in the budgeting of them. So I would like to be able to have a bigger place in that. So I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you for your application. Emily Gothard also applied and let me know just this evening that she wasn't going to be able to attend and she would like her application to reflect her interest. And I know that you guys have had the opportunity to review all of the applications. We have Caitlin Mitchell-Markley.
Hello, thank you for inviting me here to speak tonight with everyone. I've lived in Hillsboro for 11 years. I'm currently a stay-at-home mom to 3 small children, 2 of whom are autistic. I'm also formerly an attorney. And now that my children are school-aged, I'd like to offer my time and help to support our students and our schools. I personally love committee work and have experience in serving on a variety of committees and boards. Of particular importance to this committee, during my tenure as a member of the Oregon State Bar Board of Governors, I had the opportunity to committee. I feel that my skills and experience are well suited to serve on this committee. I also believe that my perspective as a parent of special needs children would be beneficial for the committee to have. If selected, I will be a thoughtful, engaged, prepared member. I will read all agendas, research all of the issues, and complete assignments and projects on time, which, as you know, can sometimes be challenging when you have volunteers. But I recognize the need to be fully engaged, as well as the need to prioritize and make difficult financial decisions, and I'm prepared to do that. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I appreciate your consideration.
Caitlin, thank you very much, and thank you for your application and interest. Next, we have Patrick Sipple.
Good evening, everyone. And again, thank you, as the others have mentioned, for the opportunity to apply. Like Eric, actually, I also served in the Navy for about 10 years as a naval officer and pilot, and I've been back in Hillsboro, grew up here in Beaverton, up in the area, and came back about 2 years ago, and currently work for a company called Clear Result here in Oregon for the Energy Trust of Oregon, doing a program called Strategic Energy Management, of which Hillsboro School District is actually one of my participants that I work with. And in that role, I work on both the technical and people side to bring continuous improvement to reduce energy use and therefore reduce costs, but also increase efficiency, increase the quality of the buildings that are both presently in a district or in an organization, but also being brought online. So as with my background, both the Navy and my present position, I've been involved in a number of committees as well, worked on various projects, managing the budget, managing budgets, managing people, and also have four kiddos, 2 in the school district presently in kindergarten and in 3rd grade at Brookwood via my dining room table. And just as many of us on this call here are experiencing this year, it's been a tough one, and certainly reading over the Hillsboro School District's budget over the last 10 years to 15 years, it's been an up and down, a roller coaster, I think someone said. So I would love to have the opportunity to just help the school district out with the various skills that I bring, an eye for continuous improvement and helping to reduce costs while simultaneously improving the quality of the budget and the items that the budget touches, which is pretty much everything in the school district. So I appreciate your time and appreciate your willingness to hear us all here tonight, and look forward to the potential of working with you all.
Patrick, thank you very much for your introduction and for your application. Next up is Christine Adams-Wanneberg.
Oh, can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Christine Adams-Wanberg. I have 3 children in the Hillsboro School District. My daughter happens to be a sophomore at Century High School. And I have twin boys who are 5th graders at Imlay Elementary. And I've lived in Hillsboro for about 25 years. So my desire to be on the budget committee is one where I'm really looking to volunteer in kind of a different way. I volunteered in various ways with, my kids and their classes and various things at elementary and high school. Obviously, that's not as much of an option with the current pandemic and everything. So I'm looking for something a little bit different. I actually have over 20 years in government budgeting and policy analysis and auditing. I've been on a variety of different community committees and professional committees for being an auditor. I'm currently a performance auditor at Washington County. And I really kind of view this as a great opportunity to do some good by volunteering with the district in a way where I can share that expertise and really help the district and kind of that broader community. Budgeting is a tough process. It's really kind of where you have to put the prioritization with the money. And I know the district over the last, I can't even say just 10 years, I'm sure it always has to make some really hard in some cases. They've been very sobering choices. And I know that's very hard work. So I'm here just hoping to have an opportunity to help you with that process and share my expertise. And I also just want to tell you that I really appreciate the district actually having opportunities like this where the public can serve a greater role. So thank you for the opportunity to be here and letting me introduce myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you for your application and interest. Sure. Dawn Wallace.
Hi, it's nice to meet you all tonight. My name is Dawn Wallace. My husband and I have 3 kids, 2 of which attends the Hillsboro School District. One is a freshman and one is in 7th grade. One at Glencoe and one at Evergreen. We've lived in Hillsboro for 5 years. We moved here from Kansas. I have a bachelor's in accounting and then a master's in business. I'm also an enrolled agent for the IRS and have a tax and accounting background for over 10 years. I'm currently an operations manager for a social media company out of Beaverton. And of course, we're all remote, so it's where I'm here all the time. And then kind of my biggest reason for wanting to participate in this is my kids are getting older, as they're being in middle school and high school. I want to make a bigger impact on their education and like their social lives, as they're of mixed races. And, I feel like this would be a step in that direction. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Dawn, very much for your interest and application and introduction. I just want to say from the Chief Financial Officer's perspective, I am thrilled to have so many brilliant parent, stakeholder, key communicator advocates out there, and would like to welcome you regardless of the outcome of the event tonight to feel with me, and I'm happy to go over our finances. Our budget development process is an open public process, and we always appreciate having people out there armed with real information to share in the community. So just a note that, yay, spreadsheeters, okay. And with that, I think our next step, Erica, did you want the board to have any discussion at this point, or do we want to move into the appointment exercise?
I'm gonna see if I get any comments or questions in the chat. Oh, there we go. So yes, let's have a little question. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, there we go. I'm happy to help you out there. Michelle, my recollection on budget meeting days when we were in person, the table was very crowded. Can you just sort of remind me how many people are on the budget committee? And I think it's a lot. So is it weird to only have 2 open at any given? I mean, this is an abundance of riches. Any one of these people would be amazing to have. So how many do we have? How set is the number? Could we increase it if we wanted to, or is that something that's not really allowed?
Well, so the budget committee is an equal number of appointed community members equal to the number of people on the board. So we have a 7-member board, 7 positions for appointment in the community. There have been different options in the past in other districts where they have alternatives. You can, again, it's open public meetings. We can make sure that everyone is invited and encouraged to attend as we move through the budget development process. But local budget law requires a 1-to-1 appointment to the number of board members that we have. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
And they are appointed in 3-year terms staggered. So that's why we have 2 vacancies right now.
Martin, did you wanted to get something on the record? Or was that just?
No, I was just noting, I think when Mark asked the question, so that it was shared publicly, the rules that we're operating under. But while I have the floor, I just want to echo that this is an astonishingly qualified field of candidates. I'm truly blown away, and I want to apologize right away for the 5 or 6 that I'm not going to be able to support because we got to get down to 2. I commend all of you for applying, and truly I am blown away. There's veterans in the mix. Thank you very much. There are a variety of ways you've served the community, whether it's an HOA, God bless you, or leadership in your unions, a variety of that, just an amazing amount of service. You've proven yourself ready to come alongside us in the budgeting process for the district. Just where my head's at, just to give some indication to my colleagues, I have found that Michael is willing to speak out in the budget committee meeting, and I respect that. And in fact, I applaud that. I found that his comments have caused me to reconsider things and challenge me. It wasn't perhaps what I was thinking, and I really like that. And having just wrapped up, this is my 4th year on the board. Sometimes you have to have a while to get your legs underneath you. So what I'm really trying to say is I plan to support Michael for a 2nd term. And so that leaves one for me of the new candidates. And one of the applicants indicated a lived experience, which indicates some diversity. And that is something that we're seeking at every opportunity. So I think that's going to inform my vote as well. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back to you.
Is there any further discussion before we get into our exercise? Okay. So before we jump into that exercise, Michelle, I also just want to thank everyone that applied. I am always constantly just amazed at how many people, put their name in the hat and want to participate. And for us is figuring out more ways to include our community in our decision-making model and structure for our district. And this isn't the only committee that we have. We do have others. So I just want to remind other people that are still might be interested in participating in our district in one shape or form, that they also look to the other committees that we have and find a way to stay engaged. We truly do appreciate having all the different perspectives on our board, and they do inform, as you heard Martin, our decision making to get the perspective from our community. So I just want to thank you for showing up today and participating in this process. With that, I'll hand it back to you, Michelle, for our exercise.
Thank you, Erica. I'm going to just ask if you guys can access the budget committee appointment exercise via the board packet, or if you'd like me to copy and paste the link into the chat.
That was super easy, Michelle. We just click on a link and a whole new page appears. Well done.
Yeah, Travis led the way with this process. So thank you, Travis. So if you'll take a moment and select your 2 candidates, we'll tally those responses.
Just let us know if anybody needs the link on the chat.
Michelle, well done. Well, and Travis, well done. You guys have just put my high-tech coworkers to shame. Seriously, that's pretty awesome.
Michelle, I think that's a first for us.
Would you let me know if you got everybody's, if you refreshed it and you can see everybody's on there? Okay, great. Are you going to read the results, Michelle? Or I'm going back to you for our process.
Sorry, Erica, I had one holdout, so I was waiting for that to come through. Give it just one more second.
I also wanted to mention to our for our work session that we have one board member that is absent today. Adria Martinez is feeling under the weather, so she's not joining us today for our work session and our regular session later on. And I forgot.
Do you know if she had a chance to vote on this, or we'll just move on without it?
No, yeah, we just have to move on.
All right. Well, I can say with that that we have Michael David Smith is our top appointed candidate, and then we have a tie between Christine Adams Wanneberg and Dawn Marie Wallace. So if I could ask you guys to redo the link and indicate your top candidate between Christine Adams Wanneberg and Dawn Marie Wallace, that'd be great. We are almost there. And I would like to share with you that we have Dawn Marie Wallace is our second appointee. So we will be moving that forward to our regular session. Thank you again, everyone.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming on here, and thank you so much for participating in our process.
Thanks for having us. Have a great night, all.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Abundance of riches. Yeah, please hope you all find
Yeah.
ways to stay involved because you're all amazing.
Appreciate
We'll be
it.
coming up with additional opportunities for every single one of you.
Thanks very
Love
much.
it.
Okay, we are moving on to our second item on our agenda today, which is our Native American PAC report with Travis Raymond.
Thank you, Erica. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm honored to be a part of a team who have been working to bring more family engagement and voice to the board. And my teammates in that are many, but Saide Hagigi and Francesca Sinapi and Olga and I have been putting our heads together. And this is something that we want to do frequently, is bring groups of our PACs and family engagement to the board in order to have dialogues. And I'm going to actually defer to Olga Acuna, our Executive Director of Federal Programs, tonight, because Olga most directly supports our Title VI program and the great work that Daria Martin Bigham has been doing in coordinating that program and the PAC. So I will dish to Olga. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for that. Good morning, members of the board and staff. One of the federal programs, as Travis mentioned, that I oversee is Title VI. Title VI is a small federal grant that supports improved academic performance of our American Indian and Alaskan Native students. And it provides strategies which directly address the culturally specific and academic needs of our students. In addition to Title VI, we have an ODE adopted plan, the Oregon American Indian Alaskan Native Education the Education State Plan, which highlights goals that include staff development, curriculum, dropout prevention, culturally appropriate assessments, early childhood, and parent engagement. And so tonight, my pleasure to introduce our one and only Daria Martin Bigham. She's our family engagement liaison supporting our Native American PAC. And Catherine and Jenny are members of the PAC. They will be reporting out this evening. So please join me in welcoming Daria Martin Bigham and her team.
Hey, Daria, before you start, could I just say something really quick? I've heard this team speak before, and I don't want to speak after them because it's going to be hard to follow. But I would like to just let people know that we've been talking for the last couple months about adding a land acknowledgement to our board agenda and making that a regular part of our agenda. So tonight we will be kicking that off in our regular session. It'll happen at the beginning of the meeting. And that'll be something that is a regular part of our meetings moving forward. And Erica will be doing that this evening. But I thought this is a good opportunity just to announce that that's something that will become a part of our culture and the way that we do business in the district. So Daria, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mike, for that. And thank you for the board and everyone here. That's actually going to get me choked up a bit here. So thanks for that. Because that's beautiful. I think being a parent in the district and being a part of this parent committee, as on the flip side, really like opened up a lot of opportunities to see the district on so many different levels. So here I am, I feel like up, I don't want to say at the top, but yes, at the top, and getting to look down and really wanting to have my other parents come along side of me as well. So we do have a couple of our staff and board, and so they do dual roles, right? They're parents, they're staff members, and they're also a part of our PAC. And we also have the pleasure of having Heather Gurko join us this afternoon too. And that is a voice that's going to be coined in the district. I'm just going to say, a lot of you who have been to my meetings know that she is very instrumental and has been one of the best partners and collaborators that we've had here as we journey and get our staff up to board. So with that being said, I would like to present, is there a way that we can present our slides? I just put together a little yearbook is kind of what I'm calling it. And I don't know if you, or do you guys look at that? Okay, here we go. So this is our Native American PAC yearbook. And again, I've been trying to do some research and finding exactly when this all came into existence, but it looks like 2013 was when we did our first grant, applied for our first title. Then it was Title VII grants. And we had the opportunity to apply for the grant. But before that, it was a group of parents coming together and wanting more for their children. And so with the guidance of Deborah Giles and Travis Raymond, we were able to get that grant secured and applied for it and received it. And one of the criteria is that you must have a parent advisory committee to oversee how that monies will be used. And so that's kind of where it started. So if we can turn slide. Many of you know, here we have, again, I would not be here, would not be doing that, Deborah Giles, who is moved on to Portland Public School, but I absolutely love going through her files and finding just her map of how she ran this program. So I felt like really she had the ball in motion and I basically just got to pick up where she left off. But over the years, right, of this PAC being in existence, I feel like we have gotten our fair share of just the spotlight here, being able, like, as we see here in this picture, these are my babies, and now they're like, one of them in 7th grade and the other one's in 5th grade. So I've watched them grow up in this program, as well as the young men in this. I mean, they tower over Deborah now, actually, in this picture. They're babies here, and now they are, full-grown men. Again, we've been on hot news. And I always get emails with people saying, hey, I saw your program. And we engaged in the Hillsboro Tribune when we did our powwow. So again, I laugh because my kids do feel like they're superstars because they have seen front pages of so many of these media sources. So let's go to the next page, or the next slide. So this is our Native PAC tonight. They were wanting to be here, but it is, I'm going to say it's a little bit hard scheduling kids and trying to carve out the time. Mindy Forrest is our chairperson. She is actually, her children are Native. She is married to a Klamath tribal member, and she's been very active within our PAC group. And so for her, when the position opened, there were many, because it's kind of parents nominating other parents. And so there were quite a few parents who nominated her to be the chairperson. And she has experience working with Jackson PTA and has been just a real big advocate for keeping our programs as far as what we want to see for our students. And next we have Beth Svensson, who is our vice chair. She's from the she's a member of the Potawatomi tribe. And again, she has been in and a part of our board for years. She was a secretary for a couple of years and has slowly moved up the way. She oftentimes is always present at a lot of our events. She's been such a big instrumental help when it has come to our powwow planning and getting that up and going. And here we have a student rep. We have Jacelyn Lowy. She and she kind of has put herself into the spot. We call her JJ. That's her short name. And she's actually one of Heather's children. And you'll know that she's Heather's really grooming her to be one of our future leaders. And in any of our meetings that we've ever had JJ be a part of, she is not afraid to share her opinion or what she thinks should happen. So currently she's a sophomore at Century. And I know I've gotten emails saying, hey, I have a student here who wants to set up an infinity group. So I know JJ is going to go big places and do great things. So I'm happy to have her on board. And I may have just nominated her, but she actually she's been very in a lot of our groups. So we can head on to the next slide. So last November, we have an amazing partnership with the Intel Native American Network. And here we were, they invited us to come onto campus. They were actually bringing in John Harrington, who was the first Native American astronaut to go into space from the Chickasaw Nation. And he he loves to go around and encourage other students to get involved in STEM and other science fields. And so INAN, which is again stands for the Intel Native American Network, they were able to bring him out with their funds, and he was just so much fun. The kids here, we don't have pictures of him, but he was actually doing all these activities with the kids, and then we got to hear him speak. So we got to we took 30 students from grades 4th through 8th grade on that one day in November. So it was like November 8th. So it was a non-school day. These kids woke up early, loaded a bus, and we all headed over to Intel and just had a great time with all the different activities. So we can skip on to the next page. NARA Nights, this is a Native American Rehabilitation Association. They have a youth program, and their staff are from Gresham on a Wednesday afternoon. So they would leave at 4 and get to to the district building about 6:30, I felt like. And they would come and do activities with our students. So this is just last year. So we have done numerous of activities. And I will say this is our nights when we have the record number of students that come, because I really, really encourage students to bring their friends, to bring their teachers. This is just really a free-for-all. It's a great way for people to really come in and be a part of our community and culture. So here are just pictures of us making soup. Last year we made Three Sisters soup, which is mainly out of squash and just yummy vegetables and spices. We also we did a lot of beading crafts, and one of our favorite activities that I know that I really ask for is storytelling. So that's just basically coming together and doing stories. So we'll go ahead and advance to the next slide. Wednesday nights, if you were in the district late, about 6 to 8, you would hear the drum. Where you were in the building, you would hear this drum. We were able, with the help of Harold Paul here, who has been working with our students for at least 5 years now, or actually, no, maybe about 4. But he has really brought our kids up to a place where they are able to sing songs on their own and not sounding like, as he refers to it, as popcorn. That's what happens when you're out of beat. But they were really making some traction. We were up in room 218 for years. And then just in the last spring, like in January, February, we had to move down to the boardroom because we were just growing out of our space. And we also had North Star Dance Company come and work with our kids on powwow dance, the different styles and the techniques, and then there's the culture that was behind it as well. So go ahead. And this, of course, was probably one of the highlights of last year, right? Like when we went dormant, right? I will say it has been hard since March, when we had to kind of just pull plugs on everything. No more dancing, no more NARA nights, no more field trips that were planned. It was for our group, I would say for me, just building so much momentum, and then we came to a stop. And but this is really from the guidance and help with Olga trying to come up, like, how can we honor our students, right? We had 9 Native students many which we had 2 that went into the service, and one, a lot of them were college bound, going on into U of O, PCC, Oregon State. They were all going in directions. And so I really wanted to do something that would just be sending them off in a good way. And organizations that I have worked with in the past, this is often a tradition, is to give a wool blanket to send them off in a good way. And so what an honor it was to go meet on their doorsteps, a lot of them, to deliver a blanket and offer it to the family to wrap their students up to send them off in a good way. And I will say it was a 90-degree day, so it was hot, and yet these students were so happy to be in these blankets. And so you can just see these smiling faces. Some of them, I just remember up here in the corner, we have a family of 5 who are actually all HSD students. And when we were presenting the blanket, his dad just started clapping, just applauding, because it was for him. I think he knew, like, this, we're not going to get the graduation that we had thought that we were wanting, but here is the next best thing. And so I am just, again, so proud of all these seniors. When I look at this picture, I wonder where they are, what they're doing. I know for Jaden, who comes from the larger family, he did make it through boot camp, and we are so proud. I think he's coming home in Christmas time, and I'm hoping that he just has a wonderful time with his family. But, and then also, if you notice these stoles that are on these students too, I just have to give a shout out to Cindy Hurd. She, I just kind of posed her with hey, this is what they've worn at other schools. And she just said, well, let me see. Let me see. And then next thing I know, she was out in her car, getting over to Pendleton to buy the material to make these stoles for these students, getting the embroidered patches on them. So she really went above and beyond and made this happen. So I am just, again, so thankful for all the partners that I've been able to collaborate with, and just had an amazing experience in this first year. So I believe, we have one more slide, sorry, and then I will pass it on to some of my other partners here. So just recently we have had, because now we've had to shift to not meeting in person, so now we are doing drive-throughs. That's kind of the new thing. So at the end of the school year, we had grant money that we needed to be spent, and we bought books. That was always the plan, was to get books from Native American authors into school libraries. Then we realized school might be shut down for a while, so we had to switch gears. And again, with Cindy's help and Mindy, we were able to order books, get wellness crafts packs, and just kind of load up and get families to the district to drive by, pick up their supplies, and minimal contact that we could with them. And then again, with Intel and INAN, they were just amazing in getting us supplies for our students through just Amazon wish lists. It looked like Christmas. I don't know if any of you saw my office, but it was overwhelmed with a bunch. It was a lot, and yet we were able to get it all downstairs, get it all organized. There's Mindy, I think, and I there at the table. And then even afterwards, we were able to go and give more to some of our other federal programs, another federal program drive-through that we did. In the summertime, again, Camp Invention looked different. Normally, our students are able to go in person and go be a part of this. And with the help of the Camp Invention directors, Kelsey and I'm spacing our name, Godsey, is all I can think of. They were able to help us get kits to the families. And so here we have a picture. Again, I believe this is one of Heather's kids, but a little guy here being able to participate. And that was a lot of fun, seeing the kids know that camp wasn't canceled for them. They got to continue to work on those STEM projects. And recently, we were approached by Washington County to gather students, representatives, or actually just a representative, to come and help out with the proclamation for Native American Heritage Month, to do the reading. And so I reached out to my coworker, Jenny Sanchez, who's on this call as well, to help, asking her, because she's from the area, a Grant member asked her if she'd be willing to take on reading, and she was more than willing to do it. But I loved her suggestion as she came back and said, hey, could we get a senior to help do this as well? Because again, I think in this work is we're always constantly looking at how can we bring up the next generation. And so She had me reach out to a senior, Ella Smith, who's over at Century, and Ella was so gracious enough to just say, yeah, sign me up, let's do this. And so there's the picture there. You can see our turquoise shirts. Jenny and Ella are there taking part of that proclamation, which I believe was the first proclamation that Washington County has had for Native American Heritage Month. So these are our successes. These I feel like are successes. We also have had opportunities to speak in front of administrators last week. 90, I guess, is the record I hear right now, or what the number was. And that, again, if you would have told me that 5 years ago, the mom who was, drowning in kids and homework and projects and PTA, I would not have believed this. So to be able to be doing this is truly my dream job. And I really enjoy working with the families and the students. And I'm looking forward to getting them more into these avenues of wanting to come and participate in our board meetings. But right now, I want to give time to those that have been here with me this year, which I have needed. I felt like when we went into CDL, it really has been an island, and especially feeling, when you're trying to connect with a community and trying to find ways to just be able to relate to each other. I feel like I have found that. I hit the jackpot, guys. So I just want to kind of just share with you. I know I'm going to pass it on here, but let Catherine and Jenny and Heather just talk about their experiences with Title VI, as well as what they've been up to. So there's just been a lot going on. Like I said, right now we've been in the trenches and working with Senate Bill 13, Tribal History, Shared History, and getting that into our schools. So I'm going to pass it on. I'm just going to kind of give a talking point here. So those were our successes. I showed that to you in our slideshow. So now we're going to move on to Tribal History, Shared History, and what that has been, and just give it perspective from our pack. So Catherine or Jenny, you can just speak where you want to. And I see Heather is in there. Heather, if you want to just give kind of maybe a little bit of background of your partnership, because that is something new that we've added. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I'd like for you to know is that we have a lot of amazing partnerships, but I'm always, always open for more. But Heather has been one of these instrumental pieces as well as even just myself, honestly.
Hi, so did you want me to go ahead now, Daria? Okay. Shahak A. Duasauk, Dak Klinget Ayahat, Dutch Ayahat, Dukdane Ton, Hut Heat, Latoya Bay, Alaska. So my Tlingit name is Shahak A. Means roots at the base of the mountain of our people. My name is Heather Gurko. I'm Tlingit and Dutch, and my clan is Dukdane Ton. My house is Freshwater Sockeye House from Latoya Bay, Alaska. And I'm honored to be sitting here with my daughter, Jacelyn, who you saw a picture of earlier. So I am the Educators Project. And what I do there is I am honored to serve our Confluence in the Classroom program, our Confluence Professional Development for Educators program, and our Confluence Outdoors program. So with Confluence in the Classroom, we bring Native educators into classrooms to help the teachers are teaching in their classroom, what lessons they're doing. So with Senate Bill 13, there's many lessons available, and we can bring in Native educators to help supplement that. And bring that Indigenous voice forward. Our mission is to lift up the Indigenous voices of the people of the Columbia River ecosystem. And so it's all part of that, connecting to people with place through art and education. And then from there, we have professional development, where we work with educators at all different levels. We believe everybody's an educator. And currently we are doing a series of a cohort that's taking Senate Bill 13, Tribal History, Shared History, and taking a portion of that, which is called the, nicknamed the 6 Ps, but it's the critical orientations of Indigenous education, and breaking it up and applying it to content and allowing educators to take a deeper dive at the Senate Bill 13 and build a relationship with content, with what the state is requiring, but also helping to provide space for educators to build a relationship with themselves and their own culture, and also look at bigger topics like white supremacy characteristics in organizations and talk this out with their peers. And so we're doing that in a cohort model right now. Catherine is actually in that cohort, which has been amazing. We're also talking about doing a professional development next year that will focus directly on administrators and board members to help support from a different level. Educators are very important. We know that without them, our kids would be lost, right? But also administrators and board members have a different lens that they look at things through. So we're looking at developing a professional development for that. So it's been an honor to work with Daria. Like she said, I have 3 kids in the Hillsboro School District, 4th, 5th, and 10th grade. And, you know, we just look to continue growing our partnership. Our family's been involved with the Hillsboro Title VI program since Deb was involved. We were actually in Beaverton at that time, but we were able to come and build a relationship with everybody, which was amazing. So I think it's been about 5 years now that we've been part of the PAC group. So Ganachish, thank you. And thank you to Daria and to Travis and to Olga for continuing to support the relationship with Confluence. And we look forward to growing further.
So Catherine, I don't know if you have anything that you want to share. I'm just going to put you on that, keep putting you on the spot, but that's okay. We have kind of our goals. You know, it really does align with our goals with where we're heading. In our PAC, I think we all agree we want to continue to support SB 13 training for our staff and for board members. Another area of need would just be really reaching to see right now. I mean, I think having a semester, you know, almost a semester, definitely a quarter under our belts with CDL, I really am wanting to hear the voices of the parents. Like, what is it they need and how can we support them? Heather has given me suggestions as far as like how to work with the parents, and she has different roles in the community. So she's able to do, actually even tonight, I think she's supposed to be at a different meeting to facilitate and coming together with parents and asking them like, how can we support you? What is working? What is not working? But coming together as an affinity group to really just be able to have open space and safe space to share. So that's one thing that we are looking to do. And is on my like radar to keep doing. It's just, I think it's just taken a while, to be honest, like to just figure out what this system looks like. Because honestly, I didn't know we would still be here. And I think that's how everyone's feeling. But now that we're here, it's like, okay, so now we need to engage these families. So next week, with the help of Jenny, we are going to be doing this amazing little, or it's a craft that is a Christmas ornament with beads. And so she has spent her time counting beads, putting stuff together. We were able to kind of get that storytelling element back because I know that was such a big hit. So we're going to be doing a storytelling event next week with our younger students, K through 5th. So this is it. We're just going for it, jumping in and going to make this work. I feel like I've talked to so many people like, how's this going to work? And it's just do it. That's all I get. Just do it. So I'm going to go with that. So that's kind of the goal for us as far as parent family engagement, trying to keep it going, and also bringing in using the Zoom that, you know, the Google Meets, the platform that we have to be able to connect families to technology. Links. I mean, I'm going to become known as a link queen because I just keep sending them out because there's so much good information and trying to get it. But again, now I figured out text message. So now I'm going to start texting, because I do get some replies from emails, but text message I think is the next what I'm going to start just reaching out.
Daria, if I can, I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity and make a plug for Jocelyn to maybe apply to be on our student to our board. And that I just want to make sure that I advertise that, and then you know that there's an opportunity to serve. And Century's up next year, as Mark typed in our chat. But I also just wanted to, there you go, in 2 years. I also just wanted to just be super appreciative and thankful for coming into this space and sharing with us all the work that you've been doing. and also realizing that it's very, it is a different space to navigate, and figuring out ways to partner with us as a board to look at our structure and our system and how it's currently set up, and how can we make our current structure work better to have access to that feedback from our community. So it doesn't seem like there's this just inherent barrier to the decision-making body of a district, and how do we eliminate that? And I think that's something for all of our PACs. And as we look at how do we empower our parents and communities of color that are in our district, and also on our side and our responsibility as board members, how do we make ourselves accessible, and how do we make ourselves also just be a little bit in a space to hear back. So I'm always just looking and thinking about creative ways or different ways of doing the work that is not in what is currently established, going somewhere or showing up somewhere that you all communicate to us, like what are opportunities for our board. And that's a board goal for us, is that community engagement, that visibility. And so just learning how to best engage in those spaces where that isn't put on our communities to have to show up here and there's kind of right now it's via Zoom, but even in person, it's really intimidating to be in that space and then come and have to present or talk. Because I did it once and I was so nervous, and now here I am. But how do I make it easier for other people to come in this space? So just something for you to think about, and hopefully get us some feedback on it.
Well, I think definitely, Erica, I think one way that I've been trying to figure this out as well, right? It's even just me coming to your meetings, right? It's I'm going to come to your house and then you'll come to my house. And I feel like that's kind of how it worked the last time, right? I came to your meeting and then Mark and Martin showed up at my PAC meeting, and looking at how that's just going to continue to go back and forth. Like I said, not being in person, if any of you are up for cookie decorating or, Christmas ornament making, then yeah, I would love to have you be a part of that. As well as if you want to take your stab at dancing, you can go for that too. We haven't started that yet, but I can sign you all up and get a sign up sheet. But where I do see you definitely being on a more serious note, okay, I'll start joking around. When on a more serious note, you guys be a part of giving away the blankets, right? I would love to see a board member come and be with me as I'm going out to these families. I think that continues to build the trust. I did pull in Travis at one of the last ones because I was like, hey, if you need if you need a little bit of hope, this is it. And that's what I want. I want you to see that. But again, I want to see it even before that we're launching that student out, right? To come, definitely our powwow, when that is up and going, that's the way to do it. I mean, we would have been our 7th year hosting a powwow here in the school district. And that's one of the best times. That's when I call on my city council as well to come out to be a part of that, the city managers. But yeah, we do want the district to be a part of those activities. And so that would be just a goal that we could, suggest and do is, like I said, I'll come up with a sign up sheet. And we're trying to make a little bit more visible of our activities so that people can join. But yeah, always know that you're welcome. And I want my families to see that you're approachable, right? Beyond this meeting right now, because it is hard for us just to see recorded old versions of what is happening and not feel like we can interface and interact. So yeah, anytime that you would like to do that. And of course, more than happy to recommend JJ over there to be on your board. So she's a person.
Thank you. I'm sure that you'll have a lot of board members signing up for many of those things that you mentioned. I saw their little eyes light up, and I can tell there's a lot of interest. We have a comment from Martin and then a comment and question from Jackie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Daria and Heather and JJ, for your speaking role tonight. Daria Rose does a fabulous job of communicating with the board every week. Of course, Mike and the cabinet as well. But that's really a tool to put it on our radar. There's actually a part of that weekly update that speaks to upcoming events, and Erica nailed it. I can't wait to join you on some of these. It sounds just super fun. I wanted to plant a seed too. I think it was Heather or maybe you, Daria, mentioned about raising up the next generation. And just earlier this evening, we appointed members to the Budget Committee, and there's a variety of committee opportunities. The Budget Committee, Bond Advisory Committee, Curriculum Advisory Committees, and I think we'd all love it if some of our PACs provided candidates for those. That would be fantastic. So if I could plant that seed with you to communicate to your Native American PAC that we would be so pleased if members of your team were to take note of some of these other opportunities to serve in the district and come alongside us in that way. That'd be just magnificent. Thank you very much, Daria. I yield back to you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Martin. Let's go with Jackie, and then we'll have Catherine.
Technologically challenged today. Thank you guys for coming. I want to take an opportunity specifically to address Daria and the Native American PAC. I know that some of the comments I made when we were discussing Atkalati Ridge, my words, I realize, have unintended consequences and unintended meanings. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to apologize for that and for any misunderstanding or misinterpretation. It was not meant that way whatsoever. So I wanted to take the opportunity to, while you were here, express my apologies for that. I'm still learning and growing, and I take that very seriously. So I just wanted to take a moment to do that. I have a question for you, Daria, on the drive-through, the wellness and the reading and the camp invention. Were we still able to reach at least a similar number of students as we normally would pre-COVID? I mean, I was just curious as if that was really a big event. I don't know.
Well, thank you, Jackie, for your comments. I do appreciate that. And I know that anything that we move on forward, right, is we're growing together. And sometimes we have growing pains, but I never look at this as a setback, but always as a stronger relationship. So thank you for saying that. As far as like our program was going, I felt like we saw, I think getting to the district sometimes was a barrier. So I did oftentimes offer to go drive out supplies. But I want to say our numbers were roughly about the same. I know Camp Invention, we were at the same. If anything, I think at the times in July, so a lot of parents were looking for things for their students to do inside, right? It was hot. We were also, our numbers were starting to climb. And so I feel like we could have probably even gone more, but I wanted to be just cautious because I wasn't sure. I didn't want to sign up a bunch and then not have spaces filled. And as far as the supplies, though, yeah, I felt like we had enough. And I would say roughly it was about 60 to 70, I want to say 70 students for the crafts, because it would kind of rolled throughout the summer. And the same with the supplies. I'm trying to remember what they were historically when they would come into the district, but it was just kind of like a one-stop shop. I felt like as soon as I went Facebook Live and said, hey, we have supplies right now from 10 to 12, then they were coming. Like there were just droves of people coming to get those supplies. So again, it's really figuring out this media, using my 1997 computer skills to get me to what I need. So I'm getting there though.
Thank you very much.
Catherine.
Bazomino Waban, Bodawanami Nawab. Good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine Yeager, and I am a member of the Citizen Potawatomi. I am also German and Hispanic. Some of you, I know a lot of you in the room, I've been a teacher in Hillsboro School District for 8 years. I'm a special ed teacher, and I also teach history, currently right now IB history. I think I appreciate your comments, Jackie. It's been a journey as being growing up multiracial. It's, I've never really felt like I fit in. And what's really interesting in coming to Hillsboro School District, I am so grateful, particularly around equity work. This year has been extra powerful, and also my work with Heather and JJ. In the last year, I've grown a lot. I think what's interesting, if you have had the opportunity to come to our meetings, is saying your native, introducing yourself in your native tongue. It's not something that in the past I felt comfortable doing, right? It's something new and kind of learning about your own identity. and realizing that when you went to school, your own identity wasn't included in the curriculum. As we move forward, one of our driving points has been a quote by, and there you have to help me with her last name. It's not Dr. Lalani is her first name, but she's actually a professor at University of Oregon who wrote the 6 critical orientations for Indigenous curriculum. And one line that sticks out to me, it's one of those, I got her book and I started crying within page 1, and I don't cry easy. And it was, she wrote it to her sons. And the quote was, "They tried to write me out of existence, but I'm writing my way back in." And that's our driving point here that we've been working on. And I want to acknowledge, really point out, we are working with the Mesoamerica Committee. We have a lot of students that are Indigenous at our schools, not just our students that are Indigenous for First Nations or American Indian tribes. Many of our students from Mesoamerica, from what is now Mexico, from Guatemala, from Honduras, they are Indigenous. In particular, I think a colleague had mentioned in Oaxaca, 32% of the people in Oaxaca identify as an Indigenous. So this, our outreach into learning more about Indigenous cultures, to include it within our curriculum, we are reaching more than potentially the students I think people realize. I was doing some data digging, right? And at the school I work at, a third of our students identify as Indigenous. I learned some information from the Mesoamerica curriculum, languages in Mesoamerica, and students in the chat were like, "That's what I the only language." And so as we move forward, one thing that we've really been working on is that, and I appreciate Erica, actually your remarks to the school board really hit home, and I really appreciate, and I want to personally thank you. I've definitely been driving my work as I move forward, including stuff in the curriculum, right, that should be included. I had the opportunity to work with my Native organization at the college I attended, and we had Representative Deb Haaland, and I was that student who, after she finished talking, raised my hand and asked the first question. And I asked her, what can we do as educators to help support our Native students? And what stuck out to me is, she said, Native history is American history. And we have to make sure that we are teaching it, and it's not an add-on, it's not an extra, it's something that has to be included. So we appreciate the time that you guys have given. I really recommend Heather Gurko's, I've taken 2 classes from her, Rethinking the Wampanoag, so Rethinking Thanksgiving, and then I'm currently in the Senate bill training. It is not about memorizing information about the 9 tribes who currently are federally recognized here in Oregon. It's not about being able to name the different dates and the treaties. It's understanding, like we mentioned before, the 6 critical orientations, and realizing that people have lived here since time immemorial. And it's time we help write these. They're here, natives are here. We've survived, and we're waiting for our stories to be told and not to be intense, right? Moving forward. And I want to thank you guys for this opportunity to share and speak with you guys tonight.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I think it's, I really appreciate you highlighting the differences and the complexities regarding identity, and especially when it comes to Mesoamerican people and the complexities that exist there. And oftentimes in our current structure, I think that people and students particularly, you think about the power dynamics and you're not able to name yourself or identify yourself. They already give you like what you're supposed to choose, and that's really hard. So, and
so some of the suggestions that we came up with as a group, these are, and that's one of them, right, is just this idea of like continually to support the SB 13 implementation, as well as getting ourselves educated on tribal histories and tribal communities. And like Catherine said, it's not going to be memorizing these lessons. It's going to be changing the way that we view Native peoples, whether they're, again, from North America or South America. And I really do feel there are some underlining themes there. So it's like, if you're not just, and I feel like I've always not wanted it to be about one people. It's really learning about multi-cultures, really, when you're to know more about a specific culture. You will find a lot of similarities. And so that is one of our, recommendations, is looking into even board, members taking the trainings. Heather has a lot of these professional developments online. I know several of you were doing braided sweetgrass. That was also another event that she was able to hold. They have the author on video that you can go back and see that. Just again, hearing from a Native voice, the relationship between land and culture. And so that's one that I will probably come back and revisit at some point. Maybe we'll do a book share, just, staff, parents, again, a way to build relationships, communities. So that's our one part. Another part is this job. I find it is great. I love it. And I wish I had 24 hours. I wish I had two or three more, people who, like I said, that were there right alongside of me, helping me with this, trying to reach the students, because I feel like I'm way up on the top and it's so hard to get into the building. So I'm so thankful for Jenny, for Catherine, I'm finding more. I keep looking. I know that I've heard we've hired a new staff member over at Brown Middle School, but these are the people that I'm needing to be that lifeline for me to help me connect with the families that we have that are, like I said, at this point, I feel like it's just surviving. So I want to, I know Olga has been working hours upon hours to get a grant proposal done. And that's the heart work that just makes me realize, like, this is important and this needs to be done now. And so I'm hoping that will be something that will just gain more traction. And I know that having a partnership with the local tribe is also very valuable and important. And I've been so thankful to have had the honor to work with Casey on this new school, Afalati Ridge, and being a part of the design and seeing them work and collaborate with tribal employees and cultural consultants. And I just feel like that's something that that is happening right now, like I said, in the smallest form, but I want to just continue to see that growing. So looking, in the future, maybe one of these days we're going to need a tribal consultant, right? We're going to need someone to be that liaison who will go between the tribes and help us. Because again, I didn't actually introduce myself, but I will. I'm from Arizona. That's where my mother's tribal land is, but I grew up on a reservation which is Tolowa. So I'm a visitor myself, and yet I'm learning right with you these tribal histories and trying to, discover whose land am I on, right? My land recognition sign, and really trying to be here and recognize that there were people here, there were tribes here. And so I feel like that's where we move with this traction, and that's where we're going. And I'm just, when I go to the meetings and I hear this elementary school that's going to not only just be a land recognition for this tribe, the Kalapuya, people, it also is trying to get those educational elements in there. But also we have schools that are also going to need to be rethought about here, right? When we look at Apalati Ridge and we compare it to, say, Indian Hills, that's something that we will need to revisit, because there is something there. We like Jenny, which I know she's on here, and this is her platform with the school and the renaming of mascots, and for her spending hours trying to figure out why is it named Indian Hills, and we don't know, right? And we've looked and we keep looking, and yet we don't know, and that's our responsibility, is that we should know that. I mean, I think of the principal that was there prior to the one who is there now. How many times was he asked what that name of that school was? And yet we don't have an answer. And so that's something that we will need to approach, I feel like, as we move on and really look at the different mascots that make it hard for our students to really feel like they are part of the community. So Jenny, if you're here, I know this is something that you are passionate about, but this is something that, again, that we want to address, that we want to see looked at and really taken in consideration.
I'm Jenny. I'm here. I don't know. Did you guys all get your necklaces? Our tribe made some necklaces for the board members.
We're getting those. We're getting them to them. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, our board wanted to, our tribe wanted to thank you and to letting them have the opportunity to speak and give you some history on our tribe. And I want to thank you. Let's see.
Jenny, let me chime in for just 1 second while you're taking a little break there, Jenny. We did a little digging into the name as well, and we believe that what occurred is that there was a school naming contest, and a student submitted that name, and it was voted on, and it was selected with the most votes. We believe really that's as deep as the conversation went, and that's the process that was put into play. We have started having conversations about what is the process to rename a mascot or to select another mascot. We have another school that we're looking at that for, and so we will be bringing a process forward to the board in the next month or so. That's something that Casey and I will work on behind the scenes and bring a recommended process forward. So know that that's in the works. So, all right, Jenny, if you want to share, please.
Sorry, I just get emotional about it because if you guys don't know the history behind what Indian Hills means, then you don't know what our students go through walking into that, especially our Native students that do know what that means, right? I am a staff member at Pointer. I get asked all the time why I refuse to wear Pointer gear. If you are a Native American, why are you going to wear a Patriot on you? So, you know, someone who murdered our people, right? So think about our Native students going into that school and getting a Patriot shirt given to them and expected to wear it on a certain day, right? Do you think they should have to wear it and be asked why they chose not to wear it? It's things like that bother me. I mean, I am from Grand Ronde. My grandma is full-blooded Grand Ronde. My grandpa's full-blooded Siletz. You know, I've raised my kids to learn both history. I have a son who's at Hill High. He's Hispanic and Native American. I have a daughter who's at Brown. She knows both. And, you know, when I moved here, the first question when I'm very well represent my Native people. I wear a lot of my cultural stuff. And the first thing I asked, Native Americans still exist? Like, really? Like, what are we teaching our kids in school? We need to teach them the proper history, right? I sit in some of the history classes. I see how it's taught, you know, and I absolutely love the way Pointer teaches it. I do. I really do. They don't only look at the East Coast tribes. They really focus on our Oregon tribes, and I love that. And I always get approached with questions. They always come to me and ask me about Grand Ronde, about Warm Springs, about Washington tribes, and I tell them, you know, I can connect you to the people within our tribes. I know I'm really, really connected with my tribe. Miss Sinapi, I mean, she can probably tell you when my kids were at Lad Acres and they were told to do this Thanksgiving project with pilgrims and Indians, I was so mad that I was at her office and asking, why are they doing this? This is unacceptable, you know? I went to a public school all the way up through my 8th grade year, and then I went to an all Indian boarding school, you know? I then came back home to finish my high school year at a public school. And the things that I see my kids now is not what we learned back then. And I feel like we need to teach our kids real history. And I don't see it very much in our Hillsboro school. I don't see our kids getting the help that they need. I am now taking a lot of time because I had to give up doing the sports program for Pointer. And I offer kids office hours with me that need that extra support because our Native students are afraid to ask. They are afraid to ask for help, especially to a teacher that they don't feel like they can trust, right? So I offer that extra support to them, especially if they know I'm Native American. They're gonna trust me and come into me and say, I need help with this. Like right now, our school is doing their Native American projects. I'm always getting asked by students at Pointer, can you help us with this? They don't want to do it wrong. They want to make that teacher proud. And Pointer has an amazing, I mean, their staff there with their history, they do an amazing job. And they reach out to their students and let them know that I am Native American, I'm from this tribe, and I'm willing to help support them and help them find resources for their projects. I don't think a lot of schools have that opportunity in Hillsboro to reach out to a staff member. And I've been working with Daria. I mean, when they came to me, I should say Chris Chavez came to me and asked me some questions about the SB 13. And then Daria asked me, and so that's when they asked me to come and sit on the board and help them navigate with some of this. And I have the opportunity to take some Heather's classes. I'm getting ready to take a PD tomorrow with her. So it's just great. And I think all of our staff, not just licensed staff, but all staff in Hillsboro School District need to be educated.
Thank you, Jenny. And I know for all of our board members, this is our a journey that we're on, and we're definitely growing and learning and thinking about how to transform our district. And I think, Catherine, when you mentioned, the history and the things that happened in the past, and some things we can rewrite, and a lot of things we can put ourselves back in, right? So I am so appreciative that you all are here, that you're using your voices collectively in this space, that you are bringing to the awareness and also to the forefront that all of these issues that we need to tackle and figure out for our future generations that we want to grow in Hillsboro. And what do we want our future students to be and our future community members to be? And we have that power to influence that change in our district. So I'm so thankful for you all for coming and speaking. And I look forward to even more participation and information and going to your house, and then you all coming to our house, as Daria mentioned. Thank you so much for being here and for speaking and presenting all that information to our boards. And everything that you tell us, we are absorbing, and we are committed to this work. As you can see, all of our board members are here to listen to that. So thank you so much. So with that, we are going to move on to our next item on our agenda. So we're going to skip a couple items that we had on here, but let's do our social and emotional learning just for time constraints right now with Brooke Nova.
Good evening, everyone. And Kelly, if you want to get my slides up, that would be great. For those who are joining us, maybe who I haven't had the honor of meeting, my name is Brooke Nova. I'm the Director of Student Support Networks and Career and College Pathways for the district. And as I think about the presentation that we just had and the connection to this one, that I'm so proud to work for a district that really every day aims to know our students by name, strength, and need. And I think that is the continuation of a journey that we work collaboratively together on with our community partners, as an organization, with our staff and students. Because truly, Erica, I really love that last question of what do we want for our future students? We want our future students to know themselves, to see their strengths, to know how that applies to the next steps in life. And that takes what we just spoke about of knowing origin of your history, and that also takes knowing strengths that you learn within your classroom every day and how that connects to the community around us. So I I really appreciate the presentation, and I'm really excited to update you on some of the work we've done in Q1 as a collective. I just also for community and for staff that are on this call tonight, I just want to first also thank you so much for your time, energy, and effort of connecting with our students. And you see that's part of the title. I mean, virtually showing up for home visits. It is amazing, the Q1 data that you will see in the many ways that our community is really supporting our students. So with that, if we could transition to the next slide. I will give you an update just on our multi-tiered approach, and then also the connections and outreach data, once again, within Q1. And then, of course, any questions. I'm so sorry that those are all numbered 1. They should be 1, 2, 3. So, and we'll definitely please ask questions as I conclude. Okay, next. I am very honored and thankful for that I get to lead and go through a process with staff in our community to support in many different ways. And so with looking at social emotional health and well-being, especially in this time, knowing that the approach has to be multifaceted, knowing that that approach cannot just come from our school district, but it also needs to come from our community, our mental health partners, organizations, in many different ways who want to support our students. So that really has been our approach in this work. We meet every other month with our community partners. It's been a great learning, both I think for us as educators, but also for our community organizations of how do we really support our students as a collective, so that students here feel different supports, but also anchored in that student-centric way. So that really has been how we've approached our work. We just had our last meeting last week. And just the effort that our community partners have in our organizations, organizing family outreach evenings, workshops, wanting to come and do professional development any way they can to support our staff, that it has been an amazing opportunity for myself to feel that and to be able then to bridge to our buildings to support them in their work as well. If we can go to the next slide. I just wanted to highlight some of our community partners that do attend those meetings and also the work that they are directly doing with some of our schools. So DHS, the Department of Human Services, they actually featured Hillsboro School District in an article last month in our partnership in the work that we are doing collectively. I also had the opportunity to help with their next wave of mandatory reporting. They just have been a great partner in also ensuring that our students are safe, and then looking at that school district approach and community effort in the system and supports that they provide. Youth Contact has been a longstanding partner there in 4 of our high schools. We have a youth contact counselor that supports our students as a full-time employee. LifeWorks Northwest is in 2 of our elementary schools. And then we also have a new partnership this year with Western Psychological and Counseling Services, and 10 of our elementary schools are supported in that partnership. So I'm proud to say that we have almost half of our buildings, not only with a school counselor and other mental health support, but then also an additional community organization and partnership that's supporting students and families in this work. We also have support from CARES Northwest and SARC. And also we are very lucky in our work with Washington County. We have a grant that we are working with them on, and they are helping us to train staff specifically for middle school and paying for something that we're using that's called Character Strong. And all of our schools are collectively using that. And through this grant, they're supporting professional development for our staff to support our students in that work. If we want to transition to the next slide. I also want to take a moment. This was a heavy lift, but it was worth the lift. I just need everyone to know. So I need to thank Dale and Audrey and Fran for championing this idea. I need to thank the board for saying, yep, we're going to alter the schedule and we're going to make this happen, because I think that strong connection with students, and once again, resonating with knowing students by name, strength, and need, that is, I think it was a pivotal, crucial way to start our school year. So I just want to say thank you to that. I think that as those relationships were formed, that helps. You'll see a lot of the connections and data on the next slides. Seeing a student and greeting them back to school and saying, I see you, I hear you, I want to support you. That is a really strong, powerful way to start the year. So thank you for the vision of that, and thank you for the support of that. Going to the next slide. This data that I captured was at the end of Q1. So at the end of Q1, we had 964 students and families who had used the HSD request for resources form. I also just noted the two highest percentages of requests, one of course of being food, 46.2%, and then also various healthcare needs that could be mental or physical healthcare needs at 46.5%. Just once again, for anyone who's listening to, that form is always on our HSD website. I have the link right there. Please continue to use that. Please continue to share that out. The system and structure we've created to look at that every day and support students and families in their requests is going very well. Also, I just want to highlight the work of our care coordinators. You'll see the in-care referrals, which once again, that can be connecting to mental health supports. That can be connecting to housing instability. The number of care referrals in Q1 was 105, and then some of the additional hours that you'll see in suicide screenings that they've done, in partnership supports and networks that they have as care coordinators, and then also re-looking at our flight team and grief support. I mean, that was something that we needed to do, and how do we still support our students during a time that they most need it in CDL. So I want to thank them and acknowledge them for that work as well. Going to the next slide. Also, just a shout out to our Hillsboro School Foundation. Just the snapshot of, once again, you saw that the food request is one of the highest percentages. So I just captured how much they've raised not only last year, but then going into this year in Q1, specifically earmarked for that, the food donations. And also thank you to community who have donated to that fund. That still is on their Hillsboro Schools Foundation website. Still is such a need for every day to stock our pantries and to support our families, especially going into winter break. So thank you for the fundraising efforts and the donations that go to that account. Also, just wanted to thank family and community members who have asked, how can I support specific schools, a feeder, a specific level? Through those questions, we are conducting a survey right now for all 35 buildings to ask that. What are you currently doing to support students and celebrate through various ways? How could a PTA or a PAC or a community partner help support that effort? And how are you also communicating those efforts out? So we're collecting that information, and then we're going to create a resource that we can share out by level, but also with PTAs and PACs and community to say, hey, here's our menu of options. Here's how you can sponsor a specific school. Here's how you sponsor a specific feeder. Okay, continuing on. Once again, this is the overall snapshot of Hillsboro Schools Foundation so far in their fundraising efforts in Q1. So you'll see, once again, the food pantry fundraising efforts, but also things like art supplies and headsets. Headsets with microphones is such a need in our schools, and fundraising and helping in that effort. And then also just the continuation of school supplies and backpacks for students too, as they are experiencing learning at home. Continuing. Family engagement team, you've I think have heard from Dorotea Lopez Perez before. You know Olga Acuna. The efforts of our family engagement liaison team is huge and powerful. This right here is just Q1, 740 home visits. You'll see also to the right in the various categories of how they've been supporting. But I also need to say grad coaches, administrators, school counselors, also are doing those home visits and porch visits. And so this is the power of one component of our system. But the efforts, energy of making sure that students feel connected in so many different ways, shout out to the staff for doing that, because that the power of just the number of 740 in quarter one is huge, but then also collectively, in addition to that, just the number of home visits that are being done. I just want to say thank you to them. Continue. I also just wanted to take a moment to, this is more of a reminder of, we're using CASEL. So that's a national framework for social emotional learning, and all curriculums that we have chosen, resources, anchor back to those components, which also fit really well into that last presentation as well, of social awareness, self-awareness, knowing self and how that connects to the world around me. That is social emotional learning, and that can look so many different ways. So for us, moving to the next slide, it's that multi-tiered and multifaceted approach that I spoke about in the very beginning. It's looking at how does that look in the classroom through advisory, but how is that integrated throughout the day as well, right? We don't want a standalone approach for social emotional learning. It's rooted in equitable practices. It's having that connection first thing in the day or wrapping up the day, but it's also that continuation of how is what you're learning connect to a strength and the application of that in learning or to future. And that takes the classroom approach, that takes a school-wide approach. We've also been doing workshops with families as well and sharing information about CASEL and social emotional learning, and created resources that are bilingual for families to be using as an educator in their homes right now. And then also, once again, that community partnership and the continual discussion that we're having with those organizations on our approach and how we can link arms as a community to support students and families. Okay, next. So in elementary, oh, yes, Erica, did you?
There are some couple questions on here. I don't know if you want to take them now or wait till the end.
Can I wait to then? I'm very close to done. Okay, and then I'll just focus on all the questions. I love it. Okay, so just knowing that, once again, thank you for the alignment of elementary all having in their schedule morning meeting. Thank you for the alignment in middle school and high school of having advisory. The mechanisms of that really is powerful. Those are some of the curriculums that we're using, but then also thinking about that strategy within teaching and learning, and how does that look in the content is also an approach. It isn't this standalone thing in the middle, in the beginning of the day, and then not think about that. So the continuation of communication, of practices, and moving that work forward. And then for secondary, once again, highlighting what we're using as curriculum within the middle and high school, but then also that approach within content. So it isn't the standalone, but the integration of the student experience, and then how that connects moving forward. Next. I had mentioned that we were doing a survey for all of our schools to know how they're building community virtually. I really do appreciate the ask of some of our community members and families. So I just highlighted some of the ways that we're starting to see that as that survey is being conducted right now. And then common trends I noted: character dares, attendance challenges, and spirit weeks are some of those that I not only are seeing just by level, but also through feeder. So I look forward to having that comprehensive list and being able to share that in many different ways with our PTAs, with our PACs, with our buildings and our community partners. Next. Finally, right now, I think it's really important, especially going into winter break, when we see a student who is requesting a mental health support, we have bookmarks that have our mental health providers, some emergency phone numbers and community partners within Hillsboro that students and families can access immediately. That I think the continuation of sharing that information, making sure that our families have that in hand, that our students have that in hand. Those are bookmarks that we've made into door hangers that we can leave with our students and families too, so they have that information at any time that they may need. And then once again, that communication and outreach, The consistent messaging is so important. And then also the extensions of what that looks like for families, the family engagement workshops, all of that is so important as we connect and focus on our students, but ensuring that everyone around that student has the resources and supports that they need as well. And then finally, I just wanted to remind everyone that there is a form currently on our HSD website that is for family holiday sponsorship. So if there is a family, a community organization that can sponsor a family in need, we have that on our website. Our family engagement liaison team has a list of families and students who are asking for certain items, and then they make that match through the building family engagement liaison to support during our winter holiday time. So just wanted to highlight that. And then once again, just anchor to together we are stronger. I hope I could capture just a little bit of the work that's going on to ensure that together our students feel the support around them, not only in Q1, but throughout the school year. So thank you so much for your time, and I'd love to entertain your questions.
Thanks, Brooke. You have a question from Lisa. I think both Lisa and Jackie are on the same question, just looking at the suicide screening numbers in comparison to last year, and also the visits to the family engagement team home visits.
I'll have to go back and ask the care coordinators about their suicide screenings, and then I'll provide that because I don't know the difference in Q1 of last year to Q1 this year. But I will tell you, I just had a meeting with the counseling leadership team, which is elementary, middle, and high school counselors, and they. My time is running short, friends. Just 1 second.
Those are our future student representatives to the board.
I know, I'm
as
so
well.
sorry, friends. Here's what I'll look for those numbers, but when working with the counseling leaders, they are sharing that more and more they're infusing through advisory specific lessons on mental health. That is something that right now during this time they're really focused on because students are needing that, they're requesting it. So I can get the suicide screening numbers and share that out, but I know through just the connection and with them that they're working very hard to ensure that that information, the strategies and resources are getting to students. Yes, my 4-year-old is not.
Is she pounding on the door telling you to open the door?
Oh, that's my little son. Yeah.
I'm dying. I'm sorry. I'm dying.
It's okay. I told him that I would probably be done about 6:15. It's okay.
It's all okay. It's okay. It's killing me.
Don't worry. We've all been there. Ilham has a comment.
What was the other question? I'm so sorry. There was suicide screenings and it was something else.
Yeah, and the family home visits. You can send us that in a
perfect. Yep.
Ilham, you had a comment?
Yeah, it's a comment kind of leading to a question. So I just want to thank all you guys because shedding light on this, that's how I was able to get support from elementary school. I go to LifeWorks Northwest. I used to go to the Century based health center before I transferred to LifeWorks, and I'm enjoying it there, and I get all the support I need. But the biggest thing for me was that in the beginning, like, I know most people are very like, no, I don't want to, like very against it. So what exactly are you going to do to convince them? Because I know, like, especially if you're going to tell a teenager, it's really hard to convince them to want to go to therapy or something like that.
That is such a great question. And here I think is the really important piece is when we start speaking about resources, when we start speaking about access to help at a younger age, that helps to normalize it as much as physical health. That I think is really important. When we wait, even as adults, right, we still, I think, sometimes have that stigma. It's when we start to acknowledge and we start to talk about mental health
can mean so many different things. And it's important to acknowledge when you are starting to feel that you need support in different ways. That's also the connection to social emotional learning and looking at those different components and analyzing it of what are my strengths? How do I best manage my stress? How do I best manage when I'm feeling overwhelmed? That starts young, and that is really that approach at a younger age that we're working on, so that it doesn't get to the high school level and all of a sudden there hasn't been information that has been delivered at an elementary age. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you, Brooke, and thank you, Ilham. I think it's a very important topic when we talk about mental health and removing the stigma, and also talking about, culturally inclusive practices even around mental health, and ensuring that our communities of color are understanding the resources that are available. And this whole topic is wonderful, like Brooke mentioned, and it's something that we could dig into even further. And I really enjoy you sharing with us just little, all the work that's going on in the district in this area. And I'm sure that we're going to request that you come back and share more. And with that, I know that we are running behind and we need to get started on our regular session meeting, but I do want to give my board members and everybody just like 2 minutes to go get something to drink or just stretch a little bit, and then we will come back in 2 minutes and start. Okay, we'll recess our board.
Michelle.
No. Christmas magic.
Santa does it. Gee, Lisa.
You know what's funny, Lisa, is that was the first question when we saw it that Cabinet asked too. So
yeah, I need to get it, and I need to know how it works. So
she sent us pictures of the whole underworkings afterwards.
Where do I go? Is it a real thing? Like it somehow plugs in, and Can anybody do this magic or
It's an artificial tree. It's all built in.
like it came on the stand?
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, it's all one mechanical structure.
All
Yeah.
right.
Somebody Google it and send it to Lisa, would you?
Tomorrow. I've got a plan. It's on my to-do list. Thank you very much.
It is
Okay.
extremely cool, though.
It's all one thing.
All right, everyone. I see everyone's back here. So we're going to get started with calling our regular board session in order. And as Mike mentioned earlier today, we are going to start with land acknowledgement. And right after, we will all do our Pledge of Allegiance and then get into our agenda. And I just want to thank Olga for your work and also sharing this with us. And this is very helpful. So as we gather here today, even in this virtual setting, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge that our district service area is on an occupied traditional homelands of the Apalati Indigenous people, lands we now call Washington County and the state of Oregon. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the opportunity to learn, work, and be a community on this land. We thank them and their ancestors for being the original stewards of this land. We acknowledge that the systemic policies of colonization that have led to genocide, relocation, and assimilation that have impacted Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and those who will be affected in the future. According to Kalapuya tradition, people have lived here since time immemorial. Indigenous people still live here today, having persevered through US-sponsored war displacement, genocide, and oppression. We honor the Indigenous people whose traditional and ancestral homelands we stand on, the Tualatin Kalapuya, Kathmalet, Clackamas, Tumwater, Molalla, Bands of the Chinook, and many other Indigenous nations of the Columbia River. We believe it is important to acknowledge the ancestors of this place and to recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their ancestors. We also recognize the urban Indian community living in the Portland metro area, which includes over 400 tribal nations. Thank you, everyone. And now we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance as well. You will all join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Our first item on our regular session agenda is the approval of our agenda. I'm looking for a motion.
I move to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
So it has been moved by Mark and seconded by Martin. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please, all those in favor, please. And as a reminder, our board member, Yadira Martinez, is out ill today. So if you see, there's only 6 voting board members on our chat today. So the ayes are Lisa Allen, Jackie Spross, Martin Granum, Sheehan Kim, Mark Watson, and myself. The motion carries. Our next item time, and at this moment we have indicated in the chat, our communications director, that there are no requests to speak at this time. So we will move to our next item, which is our consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
So it has been moved by Lisa and seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please signify in the chat your vote. Yes votes are Lisa Allen, Sheehan Kim, Mark Watson, Martin Granum, Jackie Spross, and myself. The motion carries. Our next item on our agenda is our action items. And the first item that we have is to elect members to OSBA Board of Directors and Legislative Policy. And just as a reminder, this is something that we discussed in our previous meetings, and you have the motion in your packet.
I move that the Board of Directors cast its vote for Leanne Larson, OSBA Board of Directors, position 15.
Second.
Has been moved by Mark and seconded by Martin. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. I also just want to thank our Beaverton board members and other districts that participate in this process and serve on OSBA and help advocate for students across the state of Oregon. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Leanne for her service as well. So all board members, please signify your vote in the chat. Okay. The yes votes are Martin Granum, Lisa Allen, Sheehan Kim, Mark Watson, Jackie Spross, and myself. The motion carries. Our next item on our agenda is the City of Cornelius Municipal Code Revision with Michelle.
Thank you, Erica. As is included in the board packet, there's information about a requested change to the City of Cornelius Municipal Code that would essentially remove the 55 and over requisite for applications for affordable housing. Developments to go through. Ryan Wells, representing the city, is on the call with us in case any of the directors have any questions for him regarding the change, his correspondence, and I can speak to any implications to the district that may be ahead. We'll be asking that you approve the change to the municipal code. If there are any questions.
We have a question from Jackie.
So I'm not necessarily opposed. I just feel like I need quite a bit more information than what's here. I think my questions are mostly about, well, there's 4 of them actually. What do other taxing authorities do, like in Hillsboro or Washington County? That's one of them. Do you want me to just go through all of them, or do you want me to go one by one? What is the impact or projected impact of this change going to be to the district? And is this possibly setting a precedence, or should it set a precedence, or should it not set a precedence to what other cities or counties that we're in want to do? And then why was, I mean, it looks like all we're doing is removing the over 55 and older residential requirement. So then my question is, why was that originally included in there if we now want to take it out? Those are my questions. So
thank you, Jackie. I will answer what I can and then invite Ryan to fill in the gaps for me. I can tell you that this is unique to the City of Cornelius in terms of the way their code was written, and the other components of their municipal code requires a certain percentage of taxing districts in their area to approve a change to their code. So that's the requirement to this change. It's my understanding that our other taxing districts are aligned with Oregon statute already, which allows for tax exemptions for housing regardless of the age requirement. And so I would invite Ryan to, if I missed any of that, this is not my area of expertise, to please fill in the gaps.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So my name is Ryan Wells. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Cornelius. Thank you for having me on this evening. I appreciate Michelle working with me on this proposal. What she's explained is absolutely accurate, but I just want to be explicit in responding to the 4 questions that Jackie posed. So yes, the proposed change to our municipal code would align us with other municipalities more directly. As Michelle noted, the 55 and over language was adopted as advised to specifically accommodate one affordable housing, senior housing project in Cornelius back in 2014. But now we are seeing some housing projects, one specifically that is going to be coming into the city that's not a senior housing project. And so we want to open the door for that project to be eligible for a property tax exemption. So in order to do that, we need to remove that 55 and over language. The impact to the district immediately is going to be 0 because this project that is being proposed is in the Forest Grove School District boundary. So Cornelius has the luxury of being within 2 different school district boundaries. Hillsboro School District is about 1/3 of our geography on the east side, and then the Forest Grove School District covers about 2/3. So this doesn't specifically impact the Hillsboro School District in the short term, but as a courtesy and also as just a collaborative effort to make sure that our taxing partners are kind of all in agreement of this change, we wanted to propose this at this time as we're bringing it to our city council to ensure that the other major taxing jurisdictions are supportive of this change. And then the last question about a precedent, we're actually, this code amendment actually aligns us better with Oregon revised statutes and our neighboring jurisdictions. So I think that kind of covers it.
You did. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. We have a question from Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'll start with a comment, then a question for Michelle. So this is always, comes up. I know, for example, I've had conversations with our sisters and brothers on the Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec board, and they similarly face questions along these lines. Personally, just as one member of this team, I view housing and affordable housing and houselessness and homelessness is probably the greatest issue of our time. So to the extent that this is an opportunity as a school district to do something direct in support of, efforts to mitigate that crisis, I'm on board. And I appreciate how at least the rules of the road, have us talking to each other. Here we have the city of Cornelius formally advising us on matters that are somewhat existential, where we get our revenue from. So specifically to Ryan, he's invested a lot in the relationship with the district through Casey's long range planning committee. So he's well known to many of us here, and I appreciate him coming tonight and giving us a heads up what the city's thinking. And again, I'm on board. My question for Michelle, though, is, does this really even matter? And the reason I ask that is all the property taxes go down to Salem, get plussed up or topped off by the state school fund. So if we approve this, we're still going to get the same amount of money per capita funding for our students. This is really a state issue when local taxing districts make a decision to forego property tax collection. Is that correct, Michelle?
That is correct. Thank you. And that's described, the functionality of the state school fund equalization formula is described in the situation page as well. And I'm happy to provide more information about that. The other area where this may be an impact is for construction excise tax. We don't apply that to tax exempt housing. So they fall into an exception under that rule. But that's, again, a very minimal impact and material, I would think, in terms of what we would gain potentially in students.
Thanks, Michelle. Lisa, you had a...
Yeah, thanks. My question's for Ryan. First, I guess a comment and then a question. I'm excited that we have the opportunity to support Cornelius in making this change. We know that affordable housing is a huge issue that's facing our entire county and the metro area. So my question is not adversarial in any way. I'm just curious, since we have you here, it sounds like you guys have a project in mind. And my question is, has there been any discussion around how many units, maybe in terms of percentage, are going to be intended for families? I know often with affordable housing, they're, one bedroom, single family units. And so I'm just curious about what the talks have been at the city level. Thank you.
It's a great question, Lisa. And yes, we actually have had a number of discussions with the developer, which is a nonprofit developer, well experienced in the housing accommodation as well as supervised mental health units. So it's a wide variety of supportive housing and meets all of the criteria for the Metro Affordable Housing Bond, which is going to be providing significant amount of the funding for this project.
Thank you, Ryan. I don't see any other questions from our board. I was curious, if right now you said that one isn't really impacting in our district because it's in Forest Grove. Are there any plans for something later that does impact our school district?
Nothing in the works to date. The real trigger is that ORS, in revolving around the nonprofit affordable housing, ORS requires 51% of the taxing jurisdictions by taxable value need to approve an exemption in order for it to apply across all of the taxing jurisdictions. Otherwise, only the city approving the project would be subject to the tax exemption. All the other districts would continue to collect, and that doesn't generally work for a nonprofit project that needs to rely on that exemption to make it pencil. So this is really a kind of preemption or precursor, so that when and if a project down the line within the Hillsboro School District boundary does get proposed, we can come back to the board and say, hey, we've already had this conversation, and then when the project applies annually for that exemption, which they're required to do, we'll have already kind of taken care of these approvals and this alignment on policy.
Thank you, Ryan. I think all of our of us here know that our numbers in our district, we are trying to increase and making sure that our families don't get pushed out of our district, and that we do have some affordable housing options, and we maintain our student numbers up. And that is a challenge for sure around a partnership in housing and how we can better collaborate in that space. So I thank you, Ryan, for coming and joining us and speaking to that. And I don't see any further questions from my board members, so I am looking for a motion.
I move that the Board of Directors approve the change to Cornelius Municipal Code 3.35.030 that removes the 55 and over residential requirement for affordable housing tax exemption applications.
Second.
Okay, so it has been moved by Jackie and seconded by Martin. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please note your vote on the chat, please. Okay, the yes votes are Lisa Allen, Mark Watson, Jackie Spross, Sheehan Kim, Martin Granum, and myself. The motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, our next item on our agenda is to adopt legislative priorities with Beth Grazer.
Thank you, Erica. So hopefully, pardon me, hopefully you all had an opportunity to look at the draft priorities that were in your packet. Just kind of organize these a little bit based on the discussion that we had at the last board meeting about having some primary and then having some additional priorities that maybe kind of take a bit of a back seat and are just there for you if the situation arises, if it becomes necessary or advantageous to have access to those additional priorities, then they have been approved by the whole board. But your top line priorities, what I have for you is provide stable and adequate funding for K-12 education. It really hasn't changed in all the biennia that I've been here. I did include a little bit of information, and it doesn't have to stay if you don't care for it, but I do think it gives an interesting look at what has happened to K-12 education over the years since measures 5 and 50 were passed in the late 90s, and the responsibility of funding schools shifted largely to the state through its equalization formula that Michelle was just touching upon. We used to get in the high 40% of the state's budget for K-12 education. That really is just the way it is. And we were getting that much as recently as the 03-05 biennium. We were at 45%, and that percentage has been steadily eroding over the last several years. And to understand kind of the impact of that, let's just take a round number. I know this isn't exact, but if we're talking about a state budget that's approximately $20 billion, 1% of that is approximately $200 million. And Hillsboro School District being the 4th largest district in the state, we get about 3.5% of every dollar that's allocated to K-12 education. So an additional $200 million at the state level to us would mean an additional $7 million. And that's not finding new money. That's not going out and raising taxes. That simply is a restoration of an amount of money that K-12 education used to get in this state. And you know, it's hard because you don't like to pit organizations against one another. And it's not to say that the areas and agencies that have gained ground over these years that we've lost ground aren't worthy or necessary. But, you know, there's a lot of focus on and agreed principles about the importance of education. And it's difficult when everybody says that they feel that way, but then, you know, the reality of what's available to schools is a bit different. So I share that with you, you know, for your back pocket. And if you don't like having it on this flyer, we can certainly take it off, but that's why it's there. Second top line priority being protecting the Student Success Act and Student Investment Account, with a hope that we can either streamline the process for the next school year or utilize our same plan that we had in place for this year and implement it next year. And then the third being providing for students' COVID recovery. I think we've heard pretty loud and clear from our schools folks that we do need more opportunities for a certain subsection of our students who really are not being as successful as we would like them to be in, and being able to provide them with opportunities over natural breaks like spring break or the summer, with some really, you know, intensive learning opportunities would be great. But of course that requires staff, and therefore it requires funding that really is kind of over and above what we get through either the state school fund or the student investment account dollars that we've already been allocated. So really thinking about, you know, as our economy recovers from COVID, as our families recover from COVID, you know, how do we help our students recover from COVID? And then under the secondary priorities, limiting COVID liability for school districts. I think we've all seen recently a real push for kind of that lobbying effort across the state for limiting liability when it comes to issues of COVID for school districts. Modifying the law to allow for mobile clinics to be recognized as school-based health centers, qualifying for reimbursement at the state level. Exploring public-private partnerships that would make internet service widely available across the state and less expensive for families. Maintaining the 3% virtual charter school cap. And I also put on there maintaining the 49-51 split for state school fund dollars so that we don't artificially inflate our year one numbers, which then kind of artificially raises the shortfall in the second year.
Okay, I have a question from Mark and a comment from Martin.
Michelle, is our CSL number like 9.6 billion? The governor came out with hers at 9.1, but I think our CSL number would be 9.6. Is that what I saw in the update?
Yes, that's what our early estimates are. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And that's our pre-COVID service level number. So if we look
Okay.
back at our staffing and service levels back in March prior to the extended closure, that's kind of our snapshot of current service levels. So we are anticipating, 21, 23 being able to serve students as we did at that period.
So at 9.1, we're talking about 15 million in cuts for us. Is that about right?
Well, it's 17.5 million for the 2-year period. So depending on how we slice them, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Over to me, Erica.
Yes.
Okay. This is fantastic. I'm just so grateful. You have really clarified all the dialogue and discussion and back and forth and bits and pieces here and there, and really laid out coherent talking points. And I love it. I love it. It's really fantastic. A question for Mike, and then a comment maybe for Beth. Mike, my question is, I know there was some concerns that we not get too diffuse with our legislative priorities. Do you think we're on the mark here in terms of what OSBA or COSA might be thinking? Does this look like a good set, or is it too much?
No, I think this looks like a good set. I think there's always going to be things that are specific to districts, but so much of this falls in line with what the other large districts are advocating for, as well as some of the organizations throughout the state. So I think we can make this fit really well.
Well, thanks, Mike. And Beth, or maybe Mike, a question or maybe a suggestion. Should we mail these out, maybe under a signature letter from our board chair or Mike to all the senators and representatives, and maybe even all the electeds in Washington County? I know Washington County Board Chair Catherine Harrington, mixes it up with these people a lot, and I know she cares deeply about the success of all the districts. Is there any way to push this out in addition to having it in our back pockets, and we have elevator pitches left and right with anybody we can talk to?
Well, typically what we do is, obviously we make these available on our Budget Matters webpage. We push it out through Hot News and our social media accounts and whatnot. And we do encourage people to reach out to their elected officials and utilize these same talking points as they, talk to their folks about the things that are important to them when it comes to education. So we will definitely be doing some of that, but please feel free, if I can provide you with additional copies, we can certainly do that. We've also done things in the past, like we've created template sheets for people to kind of like at the top are the priorities, and then at the bottom is a space where they can fill in, like write their own testimonial or story, and then they can then send that in to their elected official if they want. So we can certainly go that route if we feel like, especially if there are certain topics that are really gaining momentum or that we feel need to be gaining momentum, we could certainly do things like that. So we've kind of taken these as a base and then created other items around them as needed.
I think that's a great idea, Martin. And maybe one thing we can think about is collectively, maybe as a board, we send an email to like the legislators in ARC and attach, and that can come from me, and attach those priorities once they're finalized as a document and say, here's what we have for our district. And we can also present them at our legislative summit that's coming up in January as well.
Yeah. I will translate them into Spanish as well, just in case anybody was wondering about that. So.
Oh, Lisa had a good idea on there in the chat as well, Beth. And then Mark, you had a question?
Sorry, yeah, a couple of questions. So we often, around budget time and this time of year, we figure out what our actual numbers are. Are we still roughly 2.2 million to lower class size by 1 throughout the district? That I know it was like probably 2 when we won my first year, and then went to 2.2. Is it still roughly about 2.2 million?
I'm sorry, I was reading Lisa's comment.
Mostly Michelle.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, those are still ballpark figures that are accurate. We do need to update them based on our most current salary schedules, and again, back to our pre-COVID staffing levels,
Right.
but we will be bringing those numbers forward as we move into into January. It's when we're going to begin our budget development period.
And roughly 850,000 for a day of school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, look, I like Lisa's idea of doing the video message too. Be all in for that. I know we had discussed, and like Martin sort of implied, the list is getting a little bit big here. The ADM, holding ADM stable so we don't get, I mean, what are we down? 4%, 5%? Like everybody.
For enrollment, Mark, is that what your question
is? Yeah.
So we are, let me do some math here. I can't believe we're
Yeah, about
we're
5%.
700 students down.
Yeah, so roughly 4 point something or 5, yeah. And that's what everybody else is experiencing, at least anywhere around us. And it doesn't need to be urban or rural. It's the same in Forest Grove. It's the same in Banks.
Right.
So I know this year we were able to use the 2-year. So I mean, I think we are still hopeful that maybe the influence of COVID will mean we'll use, what would it be, 1920 numbers for setting the budget? Is that about right?
Yeah, we've been granted an additional year where we're going to use the same numbers for the 2021 school year. There is conversation out there, and
the biennium.
Yeah, there's a request out there moving forward for 21-22. Can we get an additional year? And that remains to be seen. I think that's those are conversations that are going on. I don't know how viable that is or not.
I think COSA and OSBA may be advocating for some of that, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I don't see any additional questions in the chat, so I'm looking for a motion.
I move that the Board of Directors adopt the proposed 2021 through 2023 legislative priorities.
I will second.
So it has been moved by Sheehan and seconded by Lisa. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, please let your vote known on the chat. Okay, the yes votes are Jackie Spross, Mark Watson, Lisa Allen, Sheehan Kim, Martin Granum, and myself. The motion carries.
And Erica, just as a little closure on this one, Beth and I will put our heads together and we'll figure out some ways that we can recommend the board to get these legislative priorities out, including the video idea. So give us a day or so to talk a little bit about that, and we'll come back with some ideas for you.
I'm sorry, I meant to also say, yeah, I do like the idea of Martin's idea of Senate, Washington County Commissioners, Office of the Mayor, and City Councilors, even if it's just hey, how you doing? As partners in this work, we just want to let you know these are the things we're going to be advocating for at the state level that are going to impact your constituents as well.
Yeah, and in the absence of actually, meeting in person or seeing that, I think a video is a little bit more personable than just sending a document. Thank you, Beth and Mike. Our next item on here is to appoint our budget committee applicants, and with Michelle. Do you want to talk a little bit about the process? I think there might be some language in our chat.
Oh, let me check the chat there.
I do see Rose put in the chat, so if you're all ready to make a motion, the language is in.
I move that the Board of Directors appoint the slate of candidates identified during the work session to the 2 vacant positions on the Budget Committee as follows. Appoint Don Wallace to position 1, which expires on June 30th, 2023. Appoint Michael Smith to position 2, which expires on June 30th, 2023.
Second.
So it has been moved by Jackie and seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I just want to also say what an amazing number of people we had submit their applications. So I just want to again thank all of our applicants to the budget committee. So our board members, can you please signify your vote in the chat? Okay, our yes votes are Martin Granum, Lisa Allen, Sheehan Kim, Mark Watson, Jackie Spross, and myself. The motion carries. Our next item on our agenda is to accept the comprehensive annual financial report for 2019-20 with Michelle.
Thank you again, Erica. Very, very pleased to bring this comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year 1920. It was, of course, unusual, like everything else that we did in 1920 and continue to do. And Jeff Jones, our manager of business services, is here. And special thanks to him and all of his work in preparing the bulk of this report. And our independent auditor, Larry Grant, is also on the call here to answer any questions that you may have. Special thanks to Martin, our audit committee member that spent some time with us earlier this evening and talked a little bit more in depth about the report. And I'm just gonna go ahead and watch for any questions and comments that anybody might have on the information that was presented in the packet.
I have a comment from Martin and then Jackie.
Would you mind if Jackie went first? I want to find something on my computer.
Jackie?
Oh, sorry. You caught me off guard there, Martin. So I just want to point out that the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for for its comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2019, Hillsboro School District was awarded that certificate for the 25th consecutive year. 25 years. And this report is going to be submitted to the award program for review and determination of eligibility, but it looks like they'll probably get it again for the 26th consecutive year. So I just want to say, holla, Michelle, and all of your team, and Jeffrey, and we probably should give some credit to Adam, but tell him I said that. Well done. Very well done. So I just had to call that out. I was like, oh my gosh. So thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Jackie. That's the gist of my comments too. So there is an audit committee. Oh, you're good. I'm glad you said that. There is an audit committee, and any of my board colleagues can join us. It is the best committee of all the committees, right, Michelle? So, and we did meet, and the report is just amazing. It is a validation of financial excellence, and we should all be very proud of the Hillsboro School District. It speaks to the integrity of the district, the stewardship of the taxpayers' resources. This is an independent auditor, and Larry Grant is on the call tonight with us, and it lays it out there in black and white in very specific ways. I'd like to read to my colleagues 39. In connection with our testing, nothing came to our attention that caused us to believe that the district was not in substantial compliance with certain provisions of laws, grants. That's auditor speak for saying 2 thumbs up. And I just wanted to say that in this setting. It's really, if you're a wonk like me, and I think most of us on this call, there's some stuff there that's really worth finding and taking a look at. For example, the goal of a 4% ending fund balance. Did we achieve that? Yes, we did, and that's stated in the audit report, and that's very, very significant. That's the district dancing on the head of a pin financially, and that's just how razor thin our margins are. And people might ask, well, did we accomplish that? Yes, we did, and it's this audit report that says that. Also, there are some other audits that are going to be taking place as well. And maybe Michelle, if you could mention these other two that have happened that also had very good outcomes. And there's yet another one to come, and that is on the bond program that maybe Adam could speak a little bit to as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Martin. Yes, we have one due to the number of federal programs that we have running through our district. We every year we do what's called a single audit of our program, and Larry can provide more detail if you guys would like some additional information in the a board update. But really, that's an extra rigorous scrubbing internal controls around how those funds are used in accordance with their program. And so I believe Jeff shared that it was IDEA and another federal program that runs through the Office of School audited this year at that higher level, and no findings there as well. We did an audit on our bond work to date for the 2 prior fiscal years through 9. We do have another similar exercise coming up shortly here, and we'll be providing a report on that early spring as well. Again, thank you to our partners. Larry's here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you for Adam for blazing the trail and setting a truly high standard in our district for stewardship.
And I'll just add one thing before I yield back. Some highlights. It was COVID-19, and Larry, the independent auditor, and Jeff, our business manager, and Michelle found innovative ways to get this done. They granted read-only access to the financial systems of the district. They created secure portals to provide on-demand information to the auditor. And they did, in fact, have a brief half-day in
Larry, our auditor, and Jeffrey, I definitely think that's especially challenging during our environment right now, and our technology support that we have at our district for making that happen and keeping our business running. And that I just want to highlight what Martin said, like 4%, it might seem like it's not a lot for, other organizations they're looking at, but it's hard to do that in the space that we have ourselves when we're just talking about our current service level and the budget cuts that our district faces. So kudos to all the team and to the district. So I am looking. Now I'm remembering if somebody made a motion already. Someone
I don't think so. I move that the board of directors acting, oh no, not that one, the other one, the one above it. I move that the board of directors accept the comprehensive annual financial report for 2019-2020.
Second.
It has been moved by Mark and seconded by Martin. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify your vote in the chat. The yes votes are Sheehan Kim, Lisa Allen, Jackie Spross, Martin Granum, Mark Watson, and myself. The motion carries. Our next item is reports and discussion, and the first one we have is our financial report with Michelle.
Thank you. I apologize for dominating the agenda tonight. It's super weird. I'm sweating in my seat, but excited to have this time. As always, happy to answer any questions you might have about the financial report that talks about the activities of the business office, as well as our cash flows to date. Again, interesting note how our injuries and incidents are dropping along with our workman's comp claims so far this year. That'll play out in a positive way later on. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
I'm not seeing any questions, but again, kudos, Michelle. Thank you so much for all of the work that your team is doing. We are happy to have you in our district. Our next item is construction timeline for ES 29 with Adam.
Thank you. And I would like to add my congratulations to Michelle and Jeff and say, hey, Larry, glad you're still with us. It's a great report. You should be very proud of that.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Larry. As part of our 2017 bond, the district is going to be building a new school in South Hillsboro. We're calling it ES 29, elementary school number 29 in the district. The original timeline for that building had us starting construction in the spring of 2021, this upcoming spring, with the school opening in September of 2022. However, due to COVID and the lack of students currently at Rosedale Elementary School, which is the elementary school that all of South Hillsboro attends, we asked our demographer to give us an updated report of that community to determine if we're going to need that school in the fall of 2022, or if it could be pushed back to the fall of 2023. I had hoped to be able to bring you that demographer's report so that we could have a conversation about this. However, I got an email early last week from the demographer from Davis Demographics, and he has COVID and has not been able to work on our report. So what I'm requesting of the board at this time is that once we receive the demographer's report, that we base our decision on when to start construction of that new school on that demographer's report. If the demographer's report shows that we'll to take us through the 21-22 school year with an opening in 2023, that we do that. If it shows that we're going to need it in September of 2022, that we start construction in the spring. If we choose not to open that building until the summer of 2023, we'll still move forward with the site prep work in the summer of 2022 because we'll have a whole dry summer that will allow us to get a lot of that site work done, and we'll just help with the expense of the site prep. We've got a lot of dirt that we're going to be taking off of that site. So that is really my request tonight. Rather than having a report to present to you, what I'm asking is that once we receive it, obviously I will be forwarding that to you as soon as I receive it, but that we rely on that report to make the decision as to the timing of ES 20. So I don't need any action by the board. I just really need a head nod that that is the direction we'll go. So that's what I'm asking for.
Question from Mark.
Understanding that everything gets more expensive over time, nothing really gets cheaper. What's the budgetary impact of waiting a year look like, and does that make us nervous in terms of what we've allocated?
No, it doesn't make me nervous in terms of what we allocated. I'm very comfortable with the budget that we have there. It will likely be somewhat more expensive, the construction side of things. The site work we'll be able to accomplish, and there's this budget that's going to go towards that site work. However, I think the cost of opening or allowing a building to sit unopened, or opening it at the reduced number of students that we would have would probably be even more costly, especially to the general fund.
Right. Yeah, one's a general fund hit, one's a bond hit, right? And so have we already selected? We already have the design because it's going to be the same as Oshkosh Ridge and Brookwood. Have we already selected the contracting firm to build it?
Nope.
Okay,
nope.
So it's not like we need to work with somebody to change timeline. Okay.
No, and in fact, depending on what the demographer's report shows, if that's the direction we go, if we're going to delay the opening until 2023, we will be going out with a bid package in January just for the site contractor then we'll come back next fall and select the construction contractor. If the report shows that we need to get to work building the school this summer, then we'll have that bid package out in January. Either way,
And
we've
when you
got
say
time to accomplish this.
right, and
Could assist us with the cost.
Yeah, what we've seen, if you remember the first couple of years of the bond, the construction market in this area was just out of sight. It was all we could do to get contractors to bid projects. Friday it closed for Farmington View Elementary School. It's a $3.5 million job. And we had 12 contractors. We had contractors there that bid, $50 million projects. And they're just hungry. They need to find work for their folks for next summer. So I really think that that's going to help us if we do end up delaying this construction.
And what we will plan on doing as we get the report back, we'll of course share those results with you. And but this will just allow us to move forward regardless of which direction we go. Yeah. So we just wanted to make sure you understood really the two options, and that we continue to wait for the report.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. I'm just wanting to get some clarification though, Mike. There was two items that we had from our work session that we're pushing down to present now because we ran out of time during our work session.
That's correct.
Okay, great. So for our board members, there were just two items that we didn't get to in our work session that are following Adam. But thank you, Adam, so much for the information presented. So moving along, our next item then we have is the bilingual programs update with Dale and Arsema.
So my apologies, I didn't know it was being moved down, and so I need a little bit of time to get in contact with Arsema. So can we have the next person go and I'll get a hold of her? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, my apologies. I told Dale that was being pushed to the next meeting. So we didn't define push when we talked, Erica, so my apologies.
Okay, let's just move that then and move it to our next meeting since we didn't like I think Lisa just mentioned in our comments, we did not revise our agenda. So we'll just move those items from our work session. So right now I'm going to recess our regular board meeting and we're going to enter into our contract review board meeting. So we're recessing and entering, convening the meeting of the local contract review board. And the first item on our agenda for the local contract review board is reviewing our findings of fact for design build for construction of a new building on an existing site back with Adam again.
Thank you. And I really need to thank Rose and Mike for allowing me to jump stuff into the middle of their already completed agendas. We end up in these situations every once in a while where we really need to have a decision from the board. So thank you guys for fitting me in here. This design build request comes on behalf of the Pathway Center. You'll remember that the board approved us moving forward with a new facility at the Miller West campus, and it included initially a modular building to house the Pathway Center. As we got all of the numbers back from the modular manufacturer, it became really clear really quickly that the money that we had in the budget was just not going to be adequate to build that modular building. So we started looking really quickly at alternatives. Up with was a design, is a stick-built version of that same building. It will have the same spaces, all of the same finishes. It will just be built on a foundation on site and be stick-built. However, because we're in January, or we will be in January before we get a chance to bid this, We really need to move quickly. And so we're proposing that we bring on a design build firm. And that requires an exemption from the public procurement laws, because anytime you're doing anything basically other than a low bid situation, we need to get an exemption granted by the board. And in this case, it's for a design. It allows us to bring on the contractor to help us with the final structural design of that building while we're going through the permitting and scheduling process. This is about, I think the findings of fact lay it out pretty well, but I'm happy to answer any questions about any of the findings. Bottom line is this allows us to build the Pathways Center within the budget that we've already allocated. The one drawback is that it will likely push the open back to as late as the first of the year, so January of next year, rather than being available first day of school.
Thank you, Adam. I do have a question, and I just saw Mark popped in here. My question was just around the qualified list of one of the items. The paragraph mentioned that this doesn't, exempt us from still having competitive list, and I guess how extensive is that list?
Back when we first started the bond, we solicited contractors for our pre-qualified list. We have 14 contractors on that list, and everywhere from small local firms all the way up to some of the big contractors who also have bid on our other projects. So I'm feeling really confident that with that breadth of contractor list that we'll have no problem finding a good qualified contractor.
Thank you, Mark.
How many other modular buildings do we have in the budget at other sites? And are we worried at all about the cost of modular buildings going up to impact those?
Yeah, not really. I think we've got one more modular that we'll be purchasing as a part of this bond. The two that are similar to, so for the most part, what we've purchased are just classroom modulars. So either 1 or 2, 3 classroom modular buildings.
Is the one at Reedville sort of the biggest one so far?
Reedville and buildings that we had looked to build.
And Adam, wasn't also part of the issue that we made a number of modifications to the plan to build in that manner as we had previously thought?
Yep, that's exactly right. And some of those were requirements from the city of Hillsboro because of the location of that building and the fact that it's right downtown and on one of the main drags in town. There were some additional features that we were required to add to. There were some additional features that we were required to add to the structure that increased the cost. Part of it is with the real savings is when it's built up. Get into this kind of a building that requires some additional stuff to be done on site. That's where you start to lose the efficiencies. So,
are Mark Watson, Sheehan Kim, Jack Martin Granum, and Lisa Allen. And carries. And now I will adjourn our local contract review board meeting and reconvene our district board meeting.
Bargaining team, HEA does. We started bargaining with Mike and HR and OSP representatives a couple weeks ago, and it's been really nice to have that opportunity to collaborate and brainstorm. And there's been a lot of active and informative dialogue, and so I'm looking forward to the things that we can accomplish in that venue. And I just want to say thank you and Merry Christmas, and hope you guys get lots of rest. I know we all need it. And
notes I wrote down during our meeting. I just wanted to acknowledge a topic that I'm learning about at school in ethnic studies taught by Mr. Thomas. We are currently learning about what oppression looks like in today's society, and we discussed how it largely roots from who had the power to write the history. That being said, I wanted the discussions we had during our work session and for making space for these important conversations about our Indigenous brothers and sisters to start to right some of the wrongs.
Thank you, Maya. Devlin or Ilham?
All right, I can go. I don't really have anything that I really would like to say other than just, I don't know. I kind of honestly just would like to pass my time, if I'm being honest. I can't really think of much that I can say that would really add to the conversation. Anything that I've really thought of that I would want to bring up, people have thought of already and have brought them up. And it sounds like that there's definitive action that's going to be taken on those things. And that's honestly, I don't really have much I can say. Just good job all around, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Devlin. Ilham?
I just wanted to thank you all of you guys for, these meetings tend to run really long, but listening to everyone, and just being very open-minded, kind of what Maya was saying, advocating for all the Native Americans, and just it's really nice to see that we're having this conversation and being very open about it. And it's nice that we're working towards being more open to as not just a district, but teaching students on to be open-minded as well.
Thank you, Ilham. And then Superintendent Stein, Mike.
All right, thank you. I did have a couple of things I wanted to cover. First of all, with the audit, I appreciate the board members recognizing, really just what an accomplishment that is to year after year get such a clean report like that. And we talk to Michelle all the time, and we gave her credit. I also want to point out Jeff Jones, who he's the guy behind the scenes who, as the manager of business services, he's pulling together the details and the data, and he's answering questions, and he's organizing the team to provide everything that's needed. And he's been with us for the last 7-8 years, and it just does a great job. So I wanted to, hey, I got him to turn his camera on. Hey, and I just wanted to appreciate him. He really is a huge part of pulling this report together. So Jeff, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks. The other thing I would say is, we have, when it comes to the staff members or students who are reported to have COVID, it really is Washington County that does the majority of the communication around that. And Melody is right. We have had cases, and the notification has gone out to those people that would be impacted by those cases. It's a delicate balance that we strike when it comes to protecting an individual's rights while at the same time notifying those people that need to know that. On a totally different note, OSAA made the decision to put together 3 discrete seasons for athletics and activities. Of course, those will be shortened, and they'd be 6 weeks long, which is pretty short for a season, but the goal being that we still have the opportunity starting in late February to get all of the athletics and activities in that we have been able to in the past. Of course, that will depend on the number of cases. That will depend on what the state says regarding contact sports. So we may have some sports that are able to go and others that are not. We'll continue to keep you updated on that as well. Jill mentioned it. We are having ongoing conversations with HEA. Those have been very helpful. I think for everyone involved, it's helpful to understand in detail the concerns that are out there. And it's also a good opportunity to start sharing processes and procedures that will be put in place to ensure the safety of our students and our staff when we get to a spot where we're able to return. On that note, there are times every day we get emails from parents who are encouraging us to open immediately, and we get emails that say, I'm not going to send my student back this year, no matter what you decide. And we send a lot of responses to people that we receive those from, but I guess this is just an opportunity to say that we work within the guidelines from the state that are provided to us. And we continue to hang our hat on the state metrics and those guidelines, and we won't step outside of those. Those are there for a reason, and those are what we follow. And while I understand the frustration of parents and the disruption that it is to not have their students in a regular school environment. We are really bound by those guidelines, and we continue to find opportunities and to expand opportunities for kids to be involved on some level. We've, as you know, we've started some training and some opportunities for high school kids to get together. We want to expand those. We under those about the time that just maintaining our current level at this point, but as cases start to drop a bit, we will expand those opportunities as well. So did want to get that out there. And then the final thing is I hope that you all have a great break. To our staff out there, as well as the staff that are on the screen, thank you for all your efforts. It has been a Herculean lift to get to provide instruction in the way that it's been done. And it feels like every system, everything we knew has changed, and we've had to find other ways to do that. And I just want to appreciate all of your efforts. To our families out there, you too have had to make adjustments and make radical changes in your family life in order to make this work, and appreciate you as well. So I hope to our board members who put in many hours volunteer, we appreciate you, and I hope you get a good break as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And now we move to our board of directors time. Let's start with Sheehan and then Martin.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank our budget committee members, Christopher Clark and Michael Smith. Thank you guys so much for your service. Michael, we're so excited to see you back on, and then also congratulations to Dawn. And then just wanting to thank Christopher Clark. I also am very excited that we're doing a land acknowledgement from here on out. I was very excited to see that, and look forward to continuing to hear from various PAC members. I think we hear some very invaluable insights when they come forward, and so I'm glad that we're starting to hear from them at our work sessions, and look forward to that. Other than that, yeah, nothing much. Nothing else to say. It's been a wild season of learning how to be a new parent, and so I've survived month one, but I've got some mom brain going on. But yes, happy holidays, everybody. I know this year we didn't finish the way that we thought, but yeah, I appreciate everyone's work in getting us here this far. So thank you all.
Thank you, Sheehan.
I'd like to recognize Jackie's remarks earlier and commend her for really being very courageous. Just tremendous respect, Jackie. With respect to me, I would like to share with everyone on this call and the public that we are within 6 months of an election. And after great soul searching, I've decided that I will seek another term serving here on the Hillsboro School Board. So it's a big commitment. Mike alluded to that. My hat's off to the cabinet and all the officials of the district who regularly attend these meetings. It's intense. In the evening, we ask a lot. And so I'm going to do my part to continue to serve. It's just been great, humbling, and profoundly satisfying. So to everybody on this call, I'm gonna throw my name in the hat again, and we'll see what the voters have to say about that. So I have served as vice chair now for over a full term. This is my second term, and I've loved that. It's been a special privilege to come alongside the chair, and I am speaking specifically of our chair, Erica, and Mike, the superintendent. It's just been tremendous. I've learned so much. And in fact, I've come to respect Erica tremendously. So the strategy with the vice chair was that it would be sort of the chair in waiting. And I don't want to be the chair in waiting. As a matter of fact, I'm going to plead, beg Erica to consider serving as chair again next year. I know that decision time doesn't come now. It's later on in the year, but I just wanted to signal as the vice chair, I am no longer the chair in waiting. I think it'd be great if you would continue to serve in that capacity, Erica. You've done a fantastic job. When you serve as the HSD chair and then you move in statewide circles at OSBA and other entities, you're just an important voice in that room. And I want to continue to push you forward, support you in those roles outside the district as our chair. I think it's just really important. And so I want to do everything in my power to support you in that capacity, as well as your capacity as our chair. You've done a fabulous job. I'd like to also give a shout out to Lisa. Lisa was the chair for my first 2 years on this board, and she did a fabulous job. I think she showed me how to be a chair, and I kind of wanted to do that. Now that I see how Erica can take that and build on that and then translate that into statewide influence, particularly on issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I want to support that as much as I can. So I am not seeking to be the chair next year, which is sort of implied in me being vice chair. And I'm quite happy to step down as vice chair if somebody else wants to take a opportunity to fulfill that role. So that decision will come later, but I am seeking another term. I'm not seeking to be chair next year, and I hope that Erica will continue to serve in that capacity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. Next, we'll have Mark and then Lisa.
Oh, I'm up. All right. How do you follow that? We a lot of talk about Michelle continuing the tremendous financial legacy at Hillsboro School District, and I hopefully we're doing some of that work as well, like the land recognition at the outset. I'm proud to be part of a group that recognizes that and hopefully creates that legacy going forward. The legislature is in the legislative days right now, so committee hearings, the Education Committee, the House Education Committee, on which former Representative Solomon, or former school board member, now Representative Solomon sits, meets twice next week. So if you're looking for something to do at 8 a.m. on Tuesday and Thursday, you can watch the hearings, public hearings and public testimony for the House Education Committee. Still talk of a special session, but even with my other job, I have no insight as to how that's going. So if I had something to share, I absolutely would. Not a huge plan to do so, but yeah, as Martin said, it's been a great experience working with this group, and thank you to staff for making us all look pretty good. And yeah, I am intending to seek another term in this position as well. So we'll see what people had to say about that. But I intend to put my name forward one more time and see how it goes. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Lisa?
All right, thank you. I am not up for election, unlike the other four schmucks who are going to be going on the ballot in May. So that's exciting. So I don't need to throw my hat into anything because I could just chill. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to chill. So thank you both for sharing that. I'd love to hear from the rest of my colleagues when you make a decision as well. I think it's, I can't believe that we're already at that point, but we are. The time has flown. And just to piggyback on what Martin said, I agree that Erica has done a phenomenal job as our chair and continues to do so and lead us courageously, which is something I admire tremendously. And I love also the leadership that she's taken on at the state. And I always support you, Erica, in all the things that you choose to do. However, just to make sure that Martin isn't accidentally volunteering you for something that you aren't interested in doing, because I know that you also have a lot of other things you're doing. I will say, as something of a history wonk, there's definitely something to be said for releasing power and having a rotation of perspectives in your leaders and not getting too comfortable in that seat as chair, which is why we do tend to have 1 or 2 term chairs There's usually two. Now, if nobody else is interested, I can't see a better leader for us than Erica. Of course, I'm just saying, if George Washington just kind of was president for life, what would America look like? So just to put that out there. I hope that everyone has a fantastic winter break. I can't wait to see you all in 2021. And I just hope and cross my fingers. And if you are a prayer, please pray that we will see each other in person at some point during 2021. I believe it's going to happen. And I just am going to hold out that hope. We're going to get there and it's going to be great. So thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. I also just want to acknowledge that Jackie had to step off our call a little bit early, but also want to mention what Martin said. It is a very courageous act and vulnerable to put yourself out there, and especially when when we're in positions like ours in leadership, and we have to, apologize or also just admit that we don't know everything, because we don't. This is a volunteer position, and we're learning everything from mental health and to auditing of a huge organization such as HSD. So there's a lot to learn for us. We don't all come from an education background. We bring different lenses and perspective. And so this is all a journey for all of us as we're learning this structure and the system. I will also say that I will seek another term and run again for HSD. The hard work, but it's hard work for me. So I plan to hopefully be here and also see what our community, has thought of the work that we've done so far. And I know when the decision comes to stay again and serve as chair, if that is what my fellow board members desire. And as Lisa mentioned, I am also happy to see change happen if that is what they think is needed at this time. I am all for different leadership styles and perspective. I think, like we just said, that is always going to make us challenge us and make us grow. And I do enjoy all of the work that is happening around education, not just in our district, but in the state. I think that the state of Oregon has a great opportunity to make just such a big impact in our students' lives. And I'm hoping that everywhere else in the nation, they look to our state to see what we have done. And they can see our results and they want to emulate that. And then we're doing the best that we can in our district as well. I think that's all that I had for you all today. And I just want to thank you again for all your work and for the work that we did in our work session. Like I said, it's heavy work, it's hard work, but we're here and to this work. And I thank you all for staying engaged, participating, and having these courageous conversations and just being a witness to all this work. Thank you. With that, our board session is adjourned.